Chapter 2066. In this labyrinth city known as the center of the world, there were very few people who could be promoted to level 5. Thinking about Apollo's family, which was known as the backbone of Eulalia's backbone, their leader was only LV3. Think about Ista's clan, which was one of the most powerful clans in Eulalia, but the leader was only level 5. Only clans like Loki's clan and Freya's clan, which were at the top of Eulalia, had many level 1 adventurers. However, even Loki's clan and Freya's clan did not have more than 10 level 1 adventurers in their clans. One could only imagine how important a level 1 adventurer was to a powerful family. Although Noah was just a newcomer, the group members were very happy that a member of their clan had become a level 1 adventurer. In this way, our clan's level 1 adventurers will not be less than Freya's clan. But Freya's clan has the valiant Otto. What are you afraid of? Our clan also has the leader, deputy leader, and Sir Gareth. But if the leader, deputy leader, and Sir Gareth all go to deal with the valiant, then who will deal with those level 6 adventurers in Freya's clan? What are you afraid of? We still have Miss A's. Yes. Miss A's is the strongest swordswoman. When she was level 5, she was much stronger than other level 5 adventurers. Now that she has reached level 6, it's more than enough to deal with 1 or 2 level 6 adventurers. I still think it's a little dangerous. All the members of Loki's clan thus lined up and discussed animatedly. In this regard, Finn, Riveria, and Gareth looked at each other. Sure enough, Gareth said with a sigh. Even the members of our own clan will compete with Freya's clan. It's understandable, isn't it? Riveria said matter-of-factly. The two clans have been taken out for a long time, so of course it will become like this. That's why we have to be careful. Finn turned his gaze to Noah, who was surrounded by a group of girls, and narrowed his eyes slightly. The fact that Noah has joined our clan probably can't be hidden from that beautiful goddess. Perhaps, the conflict between the two clans has really reached a critical point. As the leader of the clan tribe, when others were happy, Finn and the others had to keep their eyes open and be vigilant in times of peace. Otherwise, an accident might happen at any time and cause Loki's clan to fall from the altar. The girls who didn't know that Finn, Riveria, and Gareth were thinking so far ahead were still surrounding Noah and shouting. Damn it! Tiona hugged her own head with an incredulous expression. Not only did I not manage to catch up with AIC, but I was also caught up by little brother. I can't accept this. Just give up. Comparing yourself to him is a foolish thing to do, Tioni sighed. ALV, one who received a favor a few months ago suddenly became a LV5 first-level adventurer. This is absolutely incomparable. Ahahaha. Leafia laughed dryly as well. Only AIC looked at Noah with eyes full of envy. It would be great if she could have such a growth rate. Because of the excitement and enthusiasm of the party members, Noah, who was laughing in spite of himself, clearly noticed AIC's behavior, and his heart suddenly moved. Right, I still have to carry out the decision I made when I returned yesterday. Just as such a thought flashed through Noah's mind, the door to Loki's room was opened. Behind the party member who was holding a piece of parchment and had just finished updating his ability value. His face was full of happiness, and it was obvious that he had made good progress. Loki twisted his arm and complained with an aching back. As expected, there are too many people. We're tired too. Let's take a break for now. The long line of clan members let out dissatisfied cries, but were ignored by the capricious main god. However, Noah felt that Loki had come out at the right time. Hey, Loki, Noah spoke to the goddess whose back was aching. Do you have money there? What are you doing? Loki immediately covered his pocket with a vigilant expression. This is the little money I have for wine. Who are you trying to fool? Tioni directly exposed Loki's lie. You're always taking money out of the treasury to buy alcohol when you have nothing better to do. The leader even complained about it last time. It's true this time. Loki said with a wronged expression. Because of the purchase of supplies and equipment for the expedition, our finances are seriously in the red. For the past half a month, I've been scrimping and saving to save this bit of money for wine. Speaking of which, we haven't sold the things we obtained when we returned from the expedition, right? Tioni's eyes began to light up. I wonder if there's any extra bonus? In Loki's clan, after the harvest from every expedition was sold, except for the consumption needed for the operation of the clan and the inventory needed for emergencies, if there was any remaining, it would be taken out to the members of the clan as dividends. According to the contribution made in the dungeon during the expedition and the amount of harvest obtained, the bonus would be different every time. And these bonuses were the main pocket money of the members of Loki's clan. This money was needed to pay for personal equipment, and other expenses. Of course, the necessary expenses during the expedition were provided by the clan tribe. For example, this time, almost all the level 1 adventurers had received undying attribute weapons prepared by the clan, and the clan would also be responsible for paying for the equipment needed during the expedition. Of course, if there was no surplus after deducting the clan's operation expenses, or if there was too little left, then the bonus would naturally be gone. This time, Mr. Noah's gift card provided a lot of convenience, so we didn't have to worry about not being able to bring back the spoils. And we also successfully conquered the 59th floor, so there's a lot to be gained. Rafia seemed to be looking forward to it. There should be a bonus, right? There is. Gareth walked over and directly announced. Although there are no statistics, and our expedition this time has caused a serious deficit in the clan, but even if we deduct this part, we still have a lot to gain. I did a rough calculation. After deducting the necessary expenses, even the basic members can get about a few 100,000 Varus. Revelia also gave an excellent piece of news. As for us who were chosen to be part of the expedition team, according to individual contribution, Rafia, who has the lowest score, can get a bonus of 10 million Varus. That much? Rafia was shocked. Then who has the highest score? Tiona quickly asked. How much did they get? The highest score is Draeger and Ace, Finn said. Although Draeger wasn't very active during the expedition, he saved Rafia, and killed the cannon dragon on the 58th floor with Ace, which relieved a lot of the team's burden. He also killed the most threatening fairy of filth and enhanced our strength, so his contribution was the highest. Ace also helped us block the deadly super long chant spell, and killed the most monsters along the way. With that, Finn gave a figure. Based on rough estimation, Draeger and Ace will get a bonus of nearly 100 million Varus. Close to 100 million? Everyone present exclaimed in surprise. Even AIC widened her eyes in disbelief. No way. That's enough to buy the Tier 1 equipment of Hephaestus clan. Loki exclaimed. Draeger, AIC, you have to treat us this time. We'll talk about that after we get the bonus. Noah was unmoved, and extended his hand to Loki. Lend me the money you have, and I'll return you double the bonus later. You said it. Loki immediately removed his vigilance, and quickly took out his money pouch and stuffed it into Noah's hand. Oh right, what are you going to do with the money? Is there anything you want to buy? I'll decide when we get to the streets. Noah accepted the money pouch with satisfaction, and then looked at Ace. Girl, you're fine today, right? Ace was slightly startled, and after a moment of hesitation, she nodded. Seeing this, Noah smiled faintly and said, If that's the case, let's go on a date. When this sentence resounded throughout the entire corridor, all sound disappeared. Tiona, and Rafia were stunned. Finn, Riveria, and Gareth stood up in shock. Loki and Bert's expressions froze. The rest of the party members also widened their eyes. As for Ace, she blinked and didn't react for a long time. Chapter 2067. Silence. A deathly silence. At this moment, everyone present was looking at the calm Noah and the confused AIC with an extremely sluggish expression. Everyone had lost their ability to react. Under such circumstances, it was AIC's brain that worked smoothly. She tilted her head and repeated that word with uncertainty. Date. Yes, date, Noah said calmly as if he didn't realize that he had said something shocking. Let's go shopping together, what do you think? Shopping? AIC was still at a loss as she asked timidly. Just me, and you? Yes. Noah smiled slightly. What? You don't want to? AIC shook her head almost reflexively. Then it's fine. With that said, Noah reached out and held AIC's hand. Then, let's go. As soon as he finished speaking, Noah held AIC's hand, who had yet to react and was at a loss. Under the countless dumbfounded gazes of the crowd, they ran out with clear footsteps. Give. Rocky stared blankly at the scene. After a long time, his lips trembled, his body trembled, and he screamed like a mad beast. Stop right there. Amid his yelling, Rocky chased after them with a crazed look on his face. Oh. After half a second, Rafia and Bert let out frenzied yells and chased after them without hesitation. The rest of the members looked at each other. After a moment of silence, they suddenly burst into an uproar. Tyan yelled in a flustered manner. Lil Vbro is going on a date with AIC. A date? I know. I heard it. Tioni's voice also rose as he fell into an indescribable confusion and excitement. Quick! Let's chase after them too. The Amazon sisters rushed out with extremely high emotions. As for the three leaders, Finn, Riveria, and Gareth, they were in a rare daze. After they reacted, they looked at each other. Really? Gareth seemed to be in disbelief. AIC is going on a date with a man? Riveria seemed to be completely unable to connect the words AIC and date together. She didn't know how to react. This is truly an unexpected development. Finn sighed with emotion and then fell silent. The three leaders looked at each other. Finally, they rushed out with great tacit understanding. Witnessing this scene, the members of Rocky's excitement were all in an uproar. Miss AIC is going on a date? Miss AIC, who is also known to be a warrior, is going on a date. Miss AIC is, who has only been interested in dungeons, is going on a date. What's more, with a newcomer. To talk to a newcomer? With an ordinary-looking newcomer who joined less than a month ago? The faces of the male and female members of Rocky's clan were all twisted. Although in the eyes of outsiders, AIC was a madman who only cared about fighting, in the eyes of her clan members, she was a recognized idol. She was beautiful, at least in appearance, very aloof, in fact, it was just natural, and did not show any emotion to any man, just not good at expressing feelings. Such a AIC was like a little princess in Rocky's clan. Now, a newcomer who had just joined less than a month dared to take their little princess on a date? That's crazy. Not allowed. Chase. A group of Rocky's clan members all went berserk. Thus, on this day, the base camp of Rocky's clan was empty, and no one stayed behind. Everyone rushed out of the base camp with a ferocious look, and even rushed directly into the streets, frightening all of Eulalie's clan members. The people who thought that Loki's clan, one of the strongest clans in the city, had come out in full force to attack a hostile clan were all frightened. They desperately prayed that the unlucky person was not them. As a result, even the guilds were alarmed, and each of them thought that Rocky's clan was going to attack a rival clan, and the whole of Eulalie was in chaos. Under such circumstances, even a certain beauty living on the top floor of the Tower of Babel was frightened. Could it be that one of the members in this expedition has reached LV7, and Rocky is going to make trouble for me? In fact, it was not only Freya who thought so, but even Otto thought so too. Otto went straight back to Freya's clan base, and gathered all the level 1 adventurers to stay in the base, ready to fight Rocky's clan at any time. But who would have thought that? The reason why Loki's clan came out in full force was because the little princess of the clan had been abducted. Kidnapped by Noah. If Freya knew about this, she would probably turn around and attack Rocky's clan instead. After all, her sweetheart was dating another girl, and this reason was enough to make the beauty, who had long been in love with Noah, go crazy with jealousy. The base camp of Rocky's clan was at the northernmost end of the city. Of course, among the 8 streets of Eulalie, the closest one to Rocky's clan base camp was undoubtedly the North Street. This street was different from the Northwest Street, where the guilds were located and often full of adventurers, so it was called the Adventurer Street. It was mainly a commercial street. Because it was also relatively close to the guilds, many related members of the guilds also lived here. In this area of the North Street, the clothing industry was quite famous. Because of the great difference in the value of clothing between the races, the clothing industry was quite popular in a city like Eulalie, which was called the center of the world. For example, the dwarfs, even if they were adults, because of their small size, their clothing could not be too big. For example, the dwarfs, although short, were broad and strong. In the human world, there was no suitable clothing at all without special customization. The elves preferred conservative clothing that was pure and did not expose too much skin. The Amazon was more open and naturally liked to expose a little. Because of the physical characteristics of the orcs, such as the part of the tail that needed to be exposed through pants and skirts, they also needed corresponding clothing. Coupled with the different customs and concepts between the races, the demand for clothing could not be said to be small. In view of this, the clothing industry naturally became popular. In the North Street, which was equivalent to a commercial street, the most shops were clothing stores that sold clothing. A large number of clothing stores were located at both ends of the North Street. On the road, although there were adventurers among the pedestrians coming and going, most of them had taken off their weapons and were leisurely strolling through the commercial street. Under such circumstances, Noah and AIC appeared. Isn't that the swordswoman? Who is the man next to her? They are holding hands. Is the swordswoman finally being seduced by someone? What does seduction mean? Who knows? Those gods often say that a woman was seduced by a man. It should be referring to the relationship between a man and a woman, right? I see. The surrounding pedestrians began to whisper to each other. For the strongest female swordsman in Eulalie, no one did not know her. Therefore, when AIC entered the North Street, she immediately attracted everyone's attention. Under the gaze of so many people, AIC seemed to be looking for a sense of security and involuntarily reached for her waist. However, the sword that was usually worn there was not brought out at all, so AIC touched nothing. Without the sword, AIC's combat power decreased by at least 70%. This made AIC's expression become a little weak, and she stuttered to open her mouth. Where are we going? Hearing AIC's words, Noah finally stopped for the first time. Turning his head, looking at AIC, Noah began to size her up. Her skin was as smooth as jade. Her figure was slim and slender. She wore a blue and white dress, but the back was boldly open and exposed to the air. Looking at AIC, Noah suddenly asked, "How long have you been wearing this set of clothes? Why haven't I seen you change it?" For a moment, AIC almost did not react. When she finally reacted, AIC was a little uneasy. Because, Loki said, if I don't wear it, then she will bite her tongue and commit suicide. That useless god. Chapter 2068. Today, as usual, every street was packed with people. Humans, elves, dwarves, orcs, dwarves, Amazons. Regardless of gender, age, or gender, all kinds of races were mixed together. The scene of people coming and going on the streets looked lively and spectacular, giving people a sense of vitality. Some people laughed and chatted while walking, some strolled around the stalls and shops, and some cursed at each other at the top of their lungs. It was really lively. Not long after, the commotion became even more intense. Rumble. Along with a series of rumbling sounds, a cloud of dust rose from the end of the street. A goddess, an elf, and a werewolf also rushed over. They looked around with ferocious expressions, and their eyes were bloodshot as they randomly grabbed people. That silly goose over there. Loki grabbed a human's shoulder and put his face in front of the other party as if he wanted to devour him. His face was distorted. Did you see my pretty AIC? Don't tell me you don't know who AIC is. That unlucky human's face turned green. While Loki went berserk, Bert and Leafia were doing the same thing. Bert grabbed a beast man by the collar and roared at him. Leafia had also changed from her usual meek, weak, and easily nervous appearance. She questioned a dwarf with a ghostly expression. The pedestrians were frightened by this scene and panicked. They ran away and closed the doors. Even the children were scared to tears. It was as if a monster had passed through the city, leaving people speechless. Finn, Riveria, Gareth, Tiona, and the others who had caught up from behind were shocked when they saw this scene. They hurriedly stepped forward and stopped the over-god and his companions from going berserk. Loki. Finn, calm down. Riveria, really, what are you doing? Gareth, making a ruckus on the street, the guild will be alerted. Tiona, don't give us trouble. Tiony, in a flurry, Finn and Gareth restrained Loki, Tiona and Tiony restrained Bert as usual, and even Riveria restrained Leafia and reprimanded her loudly. Let me go. Finn. Gareth. Rocky didn't settle down at all. Like a mischievous brat, he kicked his legs. Let me go find AIC. I want to save my AIC. Let go of me too. Stupid Amazon. Bert struggled. Who will let that bastard succeed? Lady Riveria. I beg you to let me go. Rafia cried out. I have to bring Miss A's back. Seeing Loki, Bert, and Rafia being provoked to such an extent, Finn and the others were speechless and had a headache. The same scene played out on the entire street. Some of the members of Loki's clan went berserk like Loki and the others. Some of the members of Loki's clan still retained a bit of rationality and hurriedly stepped forward to stop them. Suddenly, the entire street became chaotic because of the Loki clan's people. It was so noisy that the surrounding pedestrians looked at each other. What kind of show was going on this time? On the contrary, the male gods and goddesses who had heard the news and ran over to watch the show hid in the dark in disgust. Does Loki have rabies? You don't say, it really does look like it. The question is, can we, gods, get rabies? It's hard to say. Loki was a little abnormal to begin with. He had this tendency when he was in the heavens, right? In other words, even the children in Loki's clan have been infected with rabies? How pitiful, the gods who pursued entertainment were always looking for fun. They took this opportunity to express their nature of gloating incisively and vividly. In this regard, Loki really seemed to have rabies. He gritted his teeth and roared at the male gods and goddesses who were hiding. Get out of here. Oh my god. The group of gods was frightened just like that. It was unknown whether they were faking fear or excitement. They scattered and hid again. As for Loki, the anger in his heart was burning more and more fiercely. He ordered everyone in the most rude and unreasonable manner so far. All of you, go and find them. Even if you have to turn the whole of Eulalia upside down, you must find them. Yes. More than half of the clan members answered without hesitation. That's the end. The remaining half of the clan members hugged their heads and groaned bitterly. Meanwhile, Finn, Riveria, Gareth, Tiona, and Tiona all smiled bitterly. I say, Loki, why did you disturb them? Tiona said with some dissatisfaction. Because of some things during the expedition, AIC's mood wasn't very good. Isn't it good to let the little brother take her out for a walk? That's right. Tioni defended AIC. It's not like we're going to the buried city. Even if we go to the buried city, the little brother will be there. No matter how deep we go, AIC will be fine, right? However, the Amazon sisters' persuasion had the opposite effect. That's why it's dangerous. Loki yelled loudly. He actually took advantage of AIC's bad mood to raise her favorability. How can I just stand by and watch? That's right. Leafia uncharacteristically retorted the group of level 1 adventurers. Taking advantage of her is too despicable. Anyway, let go of him. Bert yelled angrily. "This time, I'll definitely kick that bastard to death." Everyone was speechless when they saw that Loki, Leafia, and Bert had not calmed down at all and were instead getting more and more agitated. "It's not that I don't understand your feelings, but I feel that even if you ruin AIC's date, it'll be futile." Finn narrowed his eyes. "Anyway, AIC already has a good impression of that man, right? Why not take advantage of this opportunity to let AIC enjoy things outside of the buried city?" "I feel the same way," Gareth agreed. Even the mother, Riveria, didn't say anything. "Don't stir up trouble." "Who's the mother?" Riveria frowned, but the corners of her mouth relaxed. "However, if we leave AIC alone, that child will unknowingly enter the buried city and act rashly. Rather than that, it's better to let Noah get along with her. Perhaps AIC can really change." The words of the three leaders were not without reason. Unfortunately, Loki was no longer listening to them. "Even if there's going to be a change, I'll be the one to change AIC." Loki made a big fuss. "That little bastard wants to steal my AIC? No way, go and find her." The group of adventurers from Loki's clan were helpless against the main god who had completely lost his mind. In the end, they were forced to split up and look for her. However, the unbridled conversation of the people of Loki's clan was eavesdropped by the gods who were secretly hiding on the side. "Did you hear that?" "Yes." "What did you hear?" "Our swordswoman has been flirted with." In a relative silence, after a while, the gods raised their heads and showed a smile. That smile was emotionless. It must be said here that AIC was very popular among the gods. Not to mention the goddesses, among the male gods, AIC was even once advocated to be given the title of the god's wife. In the end, this shameful title was lost because Loki dragged out the gods who advocated it and beat them half to death. However, from this point alone, one could see how popular AIC was among the gods. At this moment, the male gods were all blinded by jealousy. At this moment, the goddesses were all filled with gossip. Find. 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 Coincidentally, all the gods squeezed out this word from their throats. Then, the commotion of the gods that caused a sensation in Eulalia began. Noah, who did not know that his actions had caused an uproar in Eulalia, was at this moment in a women's clothing store, looking at the women's clothing around him while waiting for something. Not long after, a somewhat awkward voice sounded. I'm done changing." Hearing this, Noah almost subconsciously looked over, and immediately his eyes lit up. Chapter 2069. It was only at this moment that Noah understood why AIC was treated like a little princess in Loki's family. It wasn't because AIC was of noble birth, nor was it because Loki doted on AIC. It was because AIC's condition was too good. If the usual AIC gave people the impression of a warrior with a threatening sword aura, then now she was a delicate young lady. The dress with a large opening at the back had disappeared and was replaced by a set of ordinary but very cute casual clothes. The upper part was a white blouse. The lower part was a golden pleated skirt. She wore a pair of high boots. Her waist-length golden hair hung down along her spine. The blonde girl walked out of the fitting room like this. Her face was slightly red and awkward, as if she was not used to her current outfit. At first glance, she looked like a young lady who had just walked out of her boudoir and was ignorant of the world. She only changed her clothes and did not even dress up, but the feeling AIC gave people had completely changed. Oh, Noah looked around AIC curiously, sizing her up and praising her. "Not bad. Is it?" AIC still seemed to be a little uncomfortable and looked embarrassed. I don't suit this kind of outfit." "Who said so?" "I said it's very suitable." Noah immediately retorted and took a red handbag from the shelf at the side and hung it on one of AIC's shoulders. "Moreover, this is more suitable." It was indeed more suitable. The young lady who used to only wear a sword on her waist was now wearing a small bag with a long strap on one shoulder. Her temperament had completely changed. Now, even if he told those who did not know that the swordswoman, that AIC was not an adventurer, but a weak young lady who needed protection, no one would doubt it. Very good, this is it. Noah was satisfied. He took out his money bag and threw a few gold coins on the counter at the side and said to the shop owner who was looking at AIC in a daze. It should be enough. I don't want the old one, I'll give it to you. Hang it in the shop and tell the customers that it was worn by the swordswoman, and your shop will become famous. After saying that, Noah held AIC's hand and walked out of the shop. AIC didn't react at all. When Noah and AIC walked out of the shop, before they could say a word, a person on the street in front of them shouted. Found it. The voice was abrupt and sharp, causing the surrounding gazes to gather on Noah and AIC, who walked out of the shop. The two of them were immediately startled. They raised their heads and looked towards the source of the voice. Then, they jumped in fright. On the street in front of them was a group of murderous people. Found the swordswoman. That's the gigolo that the core gods were talking about, right? Charge. Get the swordswoman. The gods said. Whoever gets the swordswoman will be rewarded with 1 million veris. Oh. The group of people rushed over with red eyes, causing AIC to put her hand on her waist out of reflex. Of course, this time, he found nothing. At that moment, AIC was stunned. While AIC was stunned, Noah held AIC's hand and ran without hesitation. Seeing this, the crowd that was charging over started shouting again. They ran away. Chase after them. Although these people were not members of Loki's clan, they were all people who were willfully sent out by the red-eyed gods to search for Noah and AIC's traces. Therefore, among these people, there were members of almost every clan, and they all chased after them excitedly. From the looks of it, in order to find Noah and AIC, the gods had put in a lot of effort. At this moment, AIC, who was being held by Noah, finally reacted. She kept up with them without blushing and panting, and spoke in surprise. What happened? Who knows? Noah did not turn his head and continued to run forward. Although I don't know what happened, but it must have something to do with Loki that caused this to happen. This sentence was inexplicably persuasive. At least, AIC believed it immediately. Then, AIC did not understand and said as she ran. Why do we have to run? Because, I have a place I want to bring you to. Noah said this and then turned his head. He did not slow down, but there was a faint smile on his face. I remember when I first came to our alley, I accidentally fell into the bathing place of the goddesses. As a result, I was chased all over the streets, including you. This time, accompany me to experience the feeling of being chased. Upon hearing this, AIC could not help but recall the incident at that time. At that time, AIC was still the swordswoman, who only had battle in her eyes. Other than the desire to become stronger, there was nothing else in her heart. But because of that, when she first met Noah, perhaps AIC was attracted to Noah. Because Noah was very powerful. A nameless person who had never even heard of, let alone seen, suddenly barged into AIC's life and fought with her. In the beginning, AIC did not take this matter to heart at all. She only followed the overgod's order to catch the peeping Tom. However, in the face of Ave, who was known as the strongest swordswoman in Eulalia, not only did Noah display unimaginable strength, but it also got serious, unsheathed her sword, cast spells, and forced Ave to retreat in a domineering manner and escape without a trace. After that, when she met Noah again, Noah took out a mysterious method that surprised AIC. It was as if there was no limit to him, and he showed a powerful strength again and again. That strength deeply attracted AIC. However, when AIC only paid attention to Noah's strength, Noah showed his gentle side in some unexpected places. In order to tell AIC what the true meaning of power was, Noah lent the golden-haired girl the noble phantasm, allowing the girl to kill the LV. Sixth floor owner alone and advance to a higher realm. In order to fulfill AIC's wish, Noah did not hesitate to teach the precious crushing magic, so that AIC could obtain a more terrifying strength than the powerful magic from the fairy bloodline. Then, when AIC was frustrated because she could not master the crushing magic, Noah would touch her head. Then, when AIC was confused because of her bloodline, Noah would talk to her. Undoubtedly, they had only known each other for a few months, but this incredible man had occupied a place in the heart of the girl who only wanted to become stronger since she was young. And the reason why all of this started was because of the chase a few months ago. The encounter in the maze city with the underground city. Who, so fast, indeed. Level 1 adventurer, that swordswoman is fine, but why does that gigolo have such good leg strength and physical strength? Gradually, the voice of the pursuer behind him became weaker and weaker, and farther away. AIC could not hear those voices at all. She just looked at Noah, who was holding her hand and running in front of her, exposing his broad back to her. Her heart gradually became turbulent. She still remembered that before this, she had always been moving forward alone, and there had never been a person who led her like this. She still remembered that before this, she only held a cold weapon in her hand, and there had never been a person who led her like this. She still remembered that before this, what she saw was not a broad back, but the bodies of monsters and bloodstains. She still remembered. Undoubtedly, her heart was not as fragile as it was at this moment, so easy to beat very hard. Once, AIC also longed for heroes. Of course, as a real hero, AIC longed for her father the most. However, at that time, her father told the young AIC that, "I'm not your hero." Yes, her father was not her hero. Because I already have your mother. Therefore, her father was her mother's hero. As for your hero, he will appear in your world sooner or later. Grasping Noah's hand tightly, Ace murmured, "Don't worry. You are my hero." Chapter 2070. As the whole of Eulalia fell into chaos due to the capriciousness of the gods, the sun began to set, allowing dusk to descend upon this world. The city wall that surrounded the whole of Eulalia emitted a strong sense of presence, its shadow gradually elongating under the light of the setting sun, giving off a heavy feeling. Under such circumstances, Noah held AIC's hand and jogged all the way out of the alley, arriving at the huge city wall. Noah and AIC, who had been chased by almost all of Eulalia's minions and had been on the run for an entire day, did not have a single drop of sweat on their faces. "All right." Noah let go of AIC's hand and turned his arm. "We won't be caught if we reach here, right?" "Ah." AIC let out a soft sound, looking at her hand that was let go. A sense of loss welled up in her heart. However, AIC was not good at expressing her feelings, so she naturally did not notice the slight fluctuation in her heart. Hence, AIC resisted the sense of loss and looked at the huge city wall in front of her, tilting her head in confusion. "Why, are we here? Didn't I say? I'll bring you to a place." Noah pointed at the city wall in front of them. "That place is just outside of Eulalia." "Outside?" AIC was stunned, somewhat unsure of herself as she spoke. "We are going out?" "Yes." Noah nodded in a matter-of-fact manner. Is there a problem?" "Of course there is." Eulalia was not a place that could be entered and exited as one wished. Because of the dungeon, it was the most prosperous city in the world. There was no comparison. That was why it was hailed as the center of the world. Only the underground city had magic stone products, which were circulated all over the world from here, allowing the guilds that monopolized the magic stone industry to become rich. The endless monsters in the underground city could provide a large amount of experience points to the adventurers, causing the adventurers in Eulalia to have a higher level than other places. In the world, Eulalia was a city that stood at the peak of the world. Because of this, it was very difficult for the adventurers and the main gods of the faction to leave this place. For example, if the adventurers who had trained in the dungeon were to leave Eulalia and become enemies with the dungeon, wouldn't Eulalia be raising a bunch of ingrates? Furthermore, only Eulalia could produce magic stone products. After the magic stone products were distributed to the entire world, the amount of wealth accumulated was simply unimaginable. In fact, many people had been drooling over this piece of fatty meat. In order to deal with the various existences from all over the world, Eulalia also needed to ensure that she had sufficient combat strength. Therefore, Eulalia was very strict with the management of people coming in and out. It would be fine if the person who wanted to leave the city was a normal person, but if it was a member of the clan tribe or even a lord god of the clan tribe who had received grace, there would be many procedures to go through. This was especially true for powerful spawns. They had to go through the guild's strict inspection and complicated procedures before they could leave. Otherwise, it would be impossible for him to leave Olai as he pleased. Of course, it was almost impossible for an existence like AIC to leave Olai without permission. After all, AIC was already a level 1 adventurer at LV6. In this world where the highest level was LV7, and there was only one level 1 adventurer in the entire Orly world, her combat power was definitely at the top. In this case, the guild, which was extremely sensitive to the loss of combat strength, naturally would not easily let a level 1 adventurer like AIC leave. If there was an application and approval, then it would be fine. If there was no application and she left Olai without permission, not to mention the individual, even the clan tribe might be implicated and the entire faction would be punished. Noah had only left Olai twice in this world. The first time was when he went to the venue needed for the war game. That was a war game approved by the guild and the gods, so Noah could naturally leave the city without any effort. The other time was when Apollo's clan tribe was collectively driven out of Olai. Noah rushed ahead, left the city, and completely eliminated Apollo's clan tribe. At that time, Noah left without permission. Fortunately, he was not discovered, or he would definitely be punished. Now, Noah planned to leave Olai with AIC without the guild's permission, so how could there be no problem? However, when she was hesitating whether she should reject him or not, Noah smiled. "Don't worry, it won't be too long, and I won't kidnap you." With that said, Noah took out a pendant from his pocket. "Here." Noah handed the pendant to AIC. "Put this on." AIC's eyes looked up. It was a pendant with a pair of wings. After taking the pendant, AIC asked softly. This is a magic tool," Noah answered directly. "It contains magic that allows the wearer to fly. After you put it on, just silently say, 'Fly,' and it will be fine." This pendant, before Noah developed the means to fly on its own, was a tool that Noah relied on to fly at high altitudes. In the world of Fairy's Tale, during the Great Demon Battle, Noah lent it to Gadjalu. After Gadjalu returned it to Noah, Noah kept it on the shelf without a chance to use it. Now, Noah had a chance to take it out again. "Hurry up," Noah urged. "We have to go back before dark." Hearing this, AIC withdrew her curious gaze, nodded, put the necklace on her neck, and silently said, "Fly." The pendant worn on AIC's neck immediately emitted light. In the next moment, AIC's body floated up into the air, causing her emotionless face to twitch slightly. Her crystal-clear eyes were filled with astonishment. Although AIC could also obtain the ability to fly for a short period of time with the help of Wind's Spirit Scamper, but that was only with the help of the wind to support her body. It was completely different from the feeling of her body becoming as light as a feather and being able to fly freely. AIC even felt that as long as she thought about it, her body would be able to fly as she pleased. So, how could AIC not be surprised? Looking at AIC like this, Noah smiled slightly and began to fluctuate magic power around his body. Suddenly, Noah's face gradually changed back to his original appearance. Sure enough, this appearance is more comfortable. Disguising my identity is too depressing. After stretching his waist, Noah's body began to float up into the air. He came to AIC's side and held her hand as he said this. AIC had a look of astonishment on her face. "Let's go." After saying this, Noah held AIC's hand and like a meteor, they soared into the sky and flew towards the horizon. The sun was setting in the west, and the night wind was about to arrive. The temperature in the air was also starting to drop, causing the cold wind to undulate back and forth in the air. AIC's flying speed was not very fast due to the help of a magic tool. However, with Noah leading her, her speed was greatly increased. The cold wind hit AIC's beautiful face, causing her to close her eyes slightly. However, after a while, Noah stopped flying and together with AIC, floated in the air. In the next second, AIC heard it. "We're here." Hearing this, AIC subconsciously opened her eyes. However, just as she opened her eyes, the scene in front of her made AIC's eyes widen. Her eyes were filled with amazement. At this moment, what appeared in front of AIC was a boundless field of flowers. A huge field of flowers sat under a cliff, facing a vast forest. Almost all of the flowers in the field were sunflowers. Under the illumination of the setting sun, the sunflower field emitted a dazzling radiance. If one were to look down from the sky, the scene would be like the stars that adorned the earth. It was profound and beautiful. The cold wind blew through the field of flowers, causing the sunflowers to sway. It was a beautiful sight. This. AIC looked at Noah with extreme surprise. Meeting AIC's gaze, Noah's lips curled up. "I found this place by accident. I didn't think much of it until today when I wanted to bring you out to relax." After saying this, Noah looked at the field of flowers and asked, "Do you like it here?" AIC nodded without any hesitation. Seeing this, Noah smiled again. "Then, let's dance." Chapter 2071. AIC didn't know how many times she was stunned. But, AIC couldn't help but be stunned. Looking at the smiling Noah in front of her, AIC tilted her head. Her voice was full of surprise as if she was extremely suspicious of something. "Dance?" "That's right, dance." Noah shrugged. "I want you to spend today like a normal girl, and not as the swordswoman who only cares about fighting and becoming stronger. So, I thought of a lot of plans and finally thought of this place." Saying this, Noah looked at the vast flower field below and said, "Don't you think that dancing in this place is a wonderful thing for a girl?" AIC opened her mouth slightly, her heart was in a dilemma, but in the end, it all twisted into this sentence. "I don't know how to dance." In other words, AIC had never danced before. Noah wasn't surprised at all. "It's okay." Noah held AIC's hand. "Let me teach you." After saying this, Noah gently pulled the girl into his arms, hugging AIC's slender waist, and let AIC put one of her hands on his shoulder. Being suddenly embraced by Noah, AIC's pretty face blushed as expected. Looking at AIC like this, Noah smiled as if he found it interesting. Then, he took out a small leather bag and threw it into the air. Bang! The leather bag suddenly exploded without any warning, sprinkling a burst of crystal-clear particles. Under the blowing of the breeze, the particles circled around Noah and AI like fluorescent lights. "This is..." AIC blinked her eyes and said the true form of the crystal-clear particles. "Magic stones?" To be exact, it should be powder made from magic stones. Noah corrected her. "This kind of powder doesn't have much use. It's only used by adventurers in the dark underground. It can provide some light, so I'll make use of it and use it to set up the atmosphere." Of course, this wasn't enough. Noah took out a small box from his arms and gently opened it. The next moment, a beautiful piece of music was played from the box. AIC wasn't that surprised about the box that could play music. Because, it was a type of magic stone that could be used to record music, and after opening the box, it could be replayed. It was often used in banquets and balls. Loki used to fiddle with some of these magic stone products, but he didn't pay much attention to it. It was at that time that AIC knew about these magic stone products. Under AIC's gaze, Noah let go of the music box and let it fall to the ground. It was swallowed by the flower field below and disappeared without a trace. But because of this beautiful music, it was simply because of the beautiful flowers field beautiful, and the surrounding dazzling powder, it was like a fairy in a dream. Soon after, a man and a woman, who were suspended above the flower field and surrounded by resplendent powder, began to dance. It was a light dance. It was not like the formal social dance at a ball, nor was it like the overly exaggerated dance. It was just a dance that spun along with the music. Rather than being as light as a butterfly, it was better to say that it was as free as a bird. If anyone had ever seen a bird playing in a forest, they would have realized that this dance gave off that feeling. Noah and AIC held each other's hands tightly, and under the contrast of the star-like light particles and the sunflower field, they danced as if they were in a dream. Perhaps it was because of this, AIC's body was not as stiff as a beginner's. She used her LV-6 adventurer's dexterity to the limit and danced under Noah's lead. The two pairs of deep, pitch-black eyes and crystal-clear eyes stared at each other while their bodies swayed with the wind. Sometimes they crossed. Sometimes they spun. Sometimes they chased. Sometimes they were close. The scene of a man and a woman dancing lightly and gracefully to the beautiful music and beautiful environment was believed to be the only thing that anyone who saw it would have. Breathtaking. If there was a so-called beauty in this world, then the scene in front of them was definitely worthy of this title. There was no doubt that it could make people intoxicated, including the people involved. AIC let her body dance under Noah's lead, but her eyes were firmly fixed on Noah's body. At this moment, AIC forgot that she was chasing the powerful swordswoman. At this moment, AIC forgot that she was a warrior who was revered by people. Of course, AIC even forgot that the person in front of her was a tyrant who could defeat tens of thousands of soldiers, and that he was a taboo god slayer. Then, what was filling Alice's mind when she had almost forgotten everything? She could feel the warmth of the pair of broad hands that were holding her hand. What occupied his field of vision was a face with a faint smile. The gentleness in the other party's eyes when he looked at her. And the warmth that flowed in her heart that she could not control no matter how hard she tried. These feelings made AIC feel as if she had returned to her childhood in a daze. At that time, her father would touch her head. At that time, her mother would smile at her. When her father and mother treated her like this, she would also forget everything and only remember the warmth that flowed in her heart. At that time, when faced with this warmth, what was her first reaction? When the memories of her childhood flooded her mind, the blonde girl's emotionless face finally changed. Then, a voice drilled into AIC's ears. "I finally saw you smile from the bottom of your heart." This voice woke up AIC, who felt as if she was in a dream. AIC, who woke up, stared blankly at Noah, who was looking at her. After a while, she whispered with uncertainty. "Did I smile?" "Yes, you smiled." Noah did not stop his dancing body. Under the beautiful music, he spun in the air with AIC. As he spun, he suddenly smiled. "Your smile is more beautiful than I've ever seen it before." These words made AIC's heart feel an inconceivable feeling, and her face slightly blushed. Looking at AIC like this, Noah's smile did not diminish as he said this. "You have to smile more often in the future. That way, you will realize that it is not as difficult to become strong as you think." Holding AIC's hand, Noah lightly flew into the sky. Along with the light particles that reverberated around him, he danced in the air like a fairy. It doesn't matter if you are a sword concubine or a warrior concubine that people don't dare to flatter. Similarly, it doesn't matter what kind of blood flows in your body. You don't have to worry about it. AIC could only fly into the air under Noah's guidance. Her body was surrounded by dust that looked like starlight, reflecting her light golden hair that reached her waist. She listened to Noah's gentle and elegant words that were like a light breeze. "Don't act rashly by yourself. If you don't have enough strength, I can lend it to you." If no one acknowledges you, then I will also acknowledge you. Even if you are the only one left in the world, don't forget that no matter what, I will not disappear." After saying this, Noah once again embraced AIC's delicate body. Under AIC's absent-minded gaze, he revealed an insufferably arrogant expression to the girl in front of him. "Who asked me to not hate you?" This sentence penetrated AIC's heart. AIC knew that ever since she returned from the underground city, her emotions had not been right. It was to the extent that she needed to vent her emotions through battle on the way back. If Noah did not forcefully bring AIC out today, then AIC would definitely do what Riveria said and enter the underground city alone and continue to use battle to numb herself. This way, it would not take long for AIC to recover. However, just as Noah thought, a girl could only use battle to vent her emotions when she was in a bad mood. That was really sad. Therefore, Noah hoped to use this method to cheer AIC up. And Noah succeeded. At this moment, the darkness in AIC's heart was finally swept away. Feeling the warmth from Noah's embrace, AIC gently closed her eyes. Her face was more peaceful than ever. "Thank you," this sentence disappeared in the wind. A man and a woman were still dancing in the flower field. As the sun set and the curtain of night fell, the starry sky gradually became the background. Chapter 2072. Night began to fall. Eulalie, which had become chaotic, finally regained its peace. Because of the gods' rampage, the entire labyrinth city was more chaotic than a wet market. Many clan overgods willfully gave orders for their clan members to search for Noah and Ace. They even put in a lot of effort and prepared a bounty, which made the eyes of those greedy clan members turn red with greed. In the end, in order to find the target, the members of the major clan tribes almost turned the entire Eulalie upside down, causing a serious impact on the ordinary citizens. In the end, as expected, the guild was alarmed. Under the suppression of the guild, the clan tribes were all severely criticized and even fined by the guild, causing the main gods who had calmed down to wail. Among them was Loki's clan tribe. After all, Loki's clan tribe caused a much bigger ruckus than the other clans, and was also punished the most by the guild, paying hundreds of millions of Varus. Under such a heavy punishment, the rampaging clan tribes finally calmed down. After that, the commotion spread like wildfire. When the ordinary citizens who did not know the truth learned the truth of the matter, they were all speechless. So, the reason why Eulalia was in such a mess wasn't because of the monsters that came out of the buried city and launched a large-scale attack, nor was it because of the armies of the other cities and kingdoms. Was it because a group of gods wanted to ruin a couple's date? This kind of thing could only happen in a city like Eulalie, where there were many clans and entertainment gods everywhere. However, when they learned that one of the main characters of the date that the gods wanted to ruin was the swordswoman, many people were still shocked. The strongest female swordsman known as the warrior concubine actually went out on a date with the opposite sex. It was simply unbelievable. At least, when a certain white-haired young man who had been looking forward to seeing Aeth heard the news, he was shocked and then dejected for a whole day. He was comforted for a long time by the clan's young goddesses, dwarves, and Vulperans, but there was no improvement. As for Loki, he was even more furious. After all, many people claimed to have witnessed Noah and AIC holding hands intimately on the streets. While they were shopping, they even walked into a clothing store. Therefore, Loki's sabotage didn't succeed at all. The evil god drank several bottles of wine, but it didn't get rid of the depression in his heart. If possible, Rocky really wanted to rush into the streets and cause a ruckus. He wanted to find Noah and AIC even if he had to die. However, because of this obsession, when the guild was alarmed, not only did Loki not stop, but he also became more and more ferocious, causing the enraged guild to ban all of Loki's family members from leaving the streets for the rest of the day. If they were to cause trouble again, not only would they be fined, but the guild would also confiscate the land of Loki's spawn. Now that they had been severely punished, Finn, Riveria, and Gareth naturally couldn't continue watching. Each of them completely suppressed the rampaging over god and forcefully brought him back to their base. However, Rocky still refused to give up. Didn't the guild forbid him from leaving? Then let's wait in the base. I don't believe that those two won't come back. Therefore, even though it was dark, Loki still stayed in the courtyard, staring at the door. He looked like a wolf dog with a ferocious look. Similarly, Rafia and Bert were also staring at the door. A god, a wolf, and an elf stood side by side in a row, staring at the door in front of them while gnashing their teeth. Finn, Riveria, and Gareth had reason to believe that. Once Noah and AIC returned, the three people in front of them would immediately pounce on them, bite the man to death, and then entangle the woman. The twin Amazons couldn't understand this. Seriously, what are Loki, Rafia, and Bert doing? Tiona said a little disinterestedly. Isn't it just because AIC has a man? Why do they act like they have an enemy? To the three of them, AIC having a man is equivalent to having an enemy. Tioni had a helpless look on his face. Moreover, that enemy must be that man. The Amazons could only look at each other helplessly. Along with Finn, Riveria, and Gareth, who also looked helpless, they stood by the side to prevent Loki, Rafia, and Bert from completely losing their minds and rushing out of the base. That would be troublesome. However, the commotion soon began again. Rafia, who had been staring at the door, was the first to notice. At the end of the street, a man and a woman were holding hands, chatting as they walked toward the base of the clan. Seeing this scene, Leafia's eyes widened and she cried out. They're back. That one sentence caused the windows on the towers in the base to suddenly open one after another. They're back? Are Draeger and Miss AIC back? Where? In the midst of the commotion, members of Loki's clan poked their heads out of the windows, making the base of Loki's clan very lively. The corners of Finn, Riveria, Gareth, Tiona, and Tiona's eyes twitched. These guys had been hiding in their rooms and secretly watching this place. They didn't know their place at all. Therefore, everyone in Loki's clan saw the scene in front of them. It was the scene of Noah and AIC holding hands, chatting and laughing intimately as they walked over. Of course, AIC wasn't good at expressing her feelings. Although the two looked very close, they weren't chatting at all. However, the scene of them walking hand in hand still stimulated the nerves of many people. Bastard. Bert trembled all over. Even I haven't held AIC's hand. Loki and Rafia were also trembling all over, looking like they were about to explode. When Noah and AIC finally returned to the gate of the base and walked into the courtyard, the three of them finally exploded. Ah. 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 Loki, Bert, and Rafia let out beast-like roars at the same time and pounced in the direction of Noah and AIC. Noah and AIC seemed to have only noticed the existence of the crowd now. Looking at Loki, Bert, and Rafia pouncing like wolves and tigers, they were stunned on the spot. Don't even think about it. Just as Loki, Bert, and Rafia were about to pounce on Noah and AIC, Tiona moved as well. The Amazon sisters leaped up with great tacit understanding, as if they were imprinted in a mirror. They pounced like tigers and pounced on Loki, Bert, and Rafia first. Bang! Accompanied by a muffled sound, like a bowling ball, the group was knocked over and rolled on the ground. AIC blinked her eyes as she saw this scene with her own eyes, looking confused. The corner of Noah's mouth twitched. Noah, who had used magic to disguise his appearance, looked at his fellow clan members who were rolling on the ground and said speechlessly, "What are you guys up to?" Tiona pressed down on Loki, Bert, and Rafia who had gone berserk. They lay on top of the three and looked up at Noah and AIC with cute smiles. "It's nothing, don't mind it." "Tiona, did you have fun?" Tiona, after asking, without waiting for Noah's reply, Tiona's eyes lit up when they saw AIC's outfit. She wore a white blouse and a golden pleated skirt. She wore white high boots and a red handbag. AIC, who used to be a cold and warrior-like swordswoman, transformed into a delicate and pitiful young girl, which surprised the Amazon sisters. So cute. Tiona, not bad at all. Tiona, under the Amazon sisters' exclamations, everyone present also noticed AIC's new look, and their eyes lit up. The outfit that changed her previous temperament even touched Loki's clan members who saw AIC as a little princess. I didn't expect. Finn was surprised. AIC actually wore this kind of outfit. I was shocked too. Riveria's lips curled up slightly. But, it's not bad. That's right. Gareth laughed out loud. This is what a real girl should look like. The entire Loki clan was in an uproar for the umpteenth time today. Chapter 2073. It was only then that AIC remembered how she was dressed. Under the surprised gazes of her fellow clan members, AIC's pretty face gradually became rosy, and finally, she hid behind Noah in embarrassment. At this moment, everyone in Loki's clan suffered an inexplicable shock. AIC didn't know that her previous image of a swordswoman had been subverted, and she had become a delicate and pitiful young lady. Even if it didn't reach the level of committing a crime, for those who were familiar with AIC, it still made their hearts tremble. At least, Rafia and Bert's faces were flushed red. Even Loki's lips trembled, and after a while, he cried out. AIC is really too cute. That's right. If one were to use words to describe AIC now, the word cute could only be used to describe her. Therefore, everyone's eyes began to shine, which made AIC feel more and more ashamed. She shrank her body even smaller, trying to hide herself behind Noah. Looking at AIC like this, Noah could only laugh. He didn't expect this girl to be so lethal when she was embarrassed. However, Noah could feel that AIC's unstable emotions had calmed down a lot. This made Noah feel somewhat gratified. At least he didn't do so much for nothing. This gratification was immediately expressed on Noah's face. Looking at the gratified smile on Noah's face, and then looking at AIC, who shrank her body and hid behind Noah like a little bird, some people were speechless. I don't care anymore. Loki didn't know where he got the strength from, but he fiercely broke free from the suppression of the two level 1 adventurers, Tyan and Tyan. He sprang up, and with a bang, he forcefully knocked Noah away. Then, Loki tightly grasped AIC's shoulder and shouted. Since what's done can't be undone, it's useless to pursue it. But, AIC, you have to accompany me on a date tomorrow. While saying this, Loki held AIC's shoulder tightly and stared straight at her. He was panting heavily and his eyes were glowing with lust. He looked like a pervert. Faced with such an over-god, Aeth shuddered and spoke almost instinctively. No. After saying that, AIC grabbed Rocky's hand and twisted it forcefully. Rocky's entire body was pinned to the ground. Bang! Goo! Muffled sounds and groans rang out at the same time. Well done, Loki gave him a thumbs up with trembling hands, and then he kept his face on the ground. His hand dropped, and there was no movement. This scene caused the members of the Loki clan to shudder. Tiona and Tyagni murmured to each other. As expected of AIC, even if she changes her image, it doesn't mean she'll become the soft girl Loki talked about. Not only Tiona and Tyagni, but the others also understood this point. Therefore, even Leafia and Bert shut their mouths and didn't dare to make a fuss anymore. However, the two of them still looked at Noah with fierce gazes, as if they wanted to swallow Noah whole. It could be said that they had a deep grudge. Under such gazes, Noah spread out his hands indifferently and said so. All right, the farce is over. It's time to leave. With that, Noah waved his hand and immediately walked in the direction of the mansion. Looking at Noah, who was about to walk to the mansion, IC, who had pinned Rocky to the ground, couldn't help but stand up and grab Noah's clothes. Noah was stunned and turned his head in confusion. Oh. Everyone in the Loki clan was also stunned and looked at AIC one after another. Under everyone's gaze, AIC seemed to only have Noah in her eyes. She spoke in a low voice. "In the future, will you still accompany me on dates?" This one sentence made everyone's hearts twitch and their mouths open into an O shape. Only Noah met AIC's expectant and uneasy gaze and suddenly smiled after a while. "As long as you're willing." Hearing this, the expectant and uneasy gaze in AIC's eyes disappeared. In the next moment, a smile appeared on AIC's beautiful face. It was an extremely pure and innocent smile without a trace of falsehood. It was not like before, where there were only slight changes. Instead, it was like a blooming flower, a cheerful and open-minded smile. Noah had seen this smile at the end of his dance with AIC above the sunflower field. The smile that Noah said was more beautiful than ever before was exactly the same as the one in front of him. Anyone who knew AIC would not be willing to believe that the girl who lacked facial expressions could have such a bright smile. Therefore, everyone present, including Finn, Riveria, Gareth, Tiona, Tiony, Bert, Rafia, and even Loki who had raised his head, was stunned. Only Noah could not help but smile. He reached out his hand and touched AIC's head. Noah believed that this smile must be the one that AIC had before she lost her parents and feelings. If he could bring back this smile, then everything he did today would be worth it. What he needed to do in the future was to try to make this clumsy and cute girl smile like today. In that way, sooner or later, the swordswoman, who only wanted to fight and become stronger in everyone's eyes, would completely transform. She had become a lovable and pampered young lady. In this magnificent and warm day, the distance between Noah and AIC was more than one step closer. Just as Noah and AIC returned to the headquarters of Loki's family, and Eulali's day of uproar came to an end, on the top floor of Babel, the beautiful goddess listened to the report from her most loyal subordinate and swayed the red wine in the glass in her hand expressionlessly. "Is it the swordswoman again?" Freya said with a calm face. "Loki's favorite child. Has she been too close to the child I love recently? Does Lady Freya think that the person who caused the uproar with AIC Wallenstein today is Noah Doria?" Otter asked in a low voice. "According to the information I found out, the person who caused the uproar with AIC Wallenstein today is not Noah Doria, but a new member of Loki's family called Drager. A new member can make the swordswoman willingly follow him everywhere?" "I don't think so." Freya showed a beautiful smile. "Moreover, if I was here, I could clearly see that the child has been running around the city, and even Eulali ran out in the end, and the swordswoman was by his side at that time." "Is that so?" Otter was silent for a moment and then said. "In other words, the new member called Drager is actually the man that Lady Freya likes? There is no other possibility." Freya narrowed her eyes and cast her gaze in a direction. That was the direction of Loki's family's headquarters. At this time, in that direction, in the headquarters of Loki's family, a soul that was as dazzling and hot as the sun was emitting a light that could burn Freya's eyes, causing her beautiful eyes to ache faintly. However, this pain not only did not make Freya look away, but also made this beautiful goddess, who had some stubborn requirements for the soul's light, stare at it with infatuation and intoxication. Looking at the place where the dazzling soul's light was, Freya spoke as if she was in a dream. "That child has a lot of magical means, even if he can change his appearance and sneak into Loki's family, it is not strange at all. Moreover, he has been with the swordswoman all day today, and you brought the report of the swordswoman and a new member of Loki's family going out together on the streets. This proves that the child is the so-called Drager." Freya raised the glass in her hand and took a sip of red wine, her eyes sparkling. "He actually went out on a date with another girl. I'm a little jealous, the man I love the most." Hearing Freya's infatuated words, Otter once again fell into silence, not knowing what he was thinking. At this time, Freya put the glass in her hand on the counter, turned around, and looked at Otter. Meeting the overgod's gaze, Otter almost instantly understood what she was thinking. Thus, Otter spoke directly. "I will gather all the members tonight." Freya smiled. Chapter 2074. The noisy day passed in the blink of an eye. While everyone was preoccupied with their own thoughts, the people of Loki's clan welcomed the second day. Today, as soon as Noah woke up, he immediately found Aster, Orpheus, and Lilith, the three clingy little girls beside him. After putting the three little girls back into the gift card and letting Athena take care of them, Noah got up, washed up, tidied up his clothes, and came out of the room. Walking in the corridor of the tower, Noah constantly encountered members of his clan coming and going. However, the way these members treated Noah was completely different from before. Some became very enthusiastic, and as soon as they saw Noah, they immediately pestered him and kept asking Noah questions. How did you make Miss A's become like that? Some of them became very indifferent. They didn't even greet Noah. Instead, they cast resentful glances at Noah and whispered to each other. Why did Miss Ace take a fancy to him? It seemed that Ace's beautiful flower-like smile yesterday had indeed caused a big impact on the people of Loki's clan. Under such an impact, the members of Loki's clan were completely divided into two factions. One was someone who had developed admiration for Noah. The other was those who were jealous of Noah. Undoubtedly, Noah was still a newcomer to this clan, but in this way, he completely became the center of everyone's topic. These changes were somewhat unexpected to Noah, and for a moment, he didn't know how to deal with it. He could only drive away all these guys who pestered him. Immediately, Noah came to the sky corridor and prepared to walk in the direction of Finn's tower. Although there was such a commotion yesterday, with the idea that it wouldn't be a problem to relax a little after returning from an expedition, the three leaders, Finn, Riveria, and Gareth, chose to indulge. In the end, Varys, who caused Loki's clan to be fined hundreds of millions by the guild. Today, Finn, Riveria, and Gareth naturally couldn't let the clan mess around like yesterday, and began to let the clan's operations go on the right track. Therefore, there were many things that needed to be done today. First of all, the spoils of war after returning from the expedition had to be sold off. All of them were exchanged for money to enrich their finances. Secondly, the fine of the guild had to be paid. They also had to register the level information of the members who had leveled up after returning from this expedition. Furthermore, the dividends that were agreed upon yesterday would still be distributed today. All of these had to be drawn up by the cadre of the clan tribe before they could be carried out. As the new first-level adventurer of the clan, Noah was naturally summoned. In other words, even if it was only in name, Noah, a level 1 adventurer, had become the new cadre of Loki's clan. In addition, a large amount of spoils from the expedition were still lying in Noah's gift card. Noah had to be there. Therefore, Noah walked in the direction of Finn's office when everyone was busy getting up. Halfway through the corridor, a voice called out to Noah before he could even walk out of the corridor. Are you going to look for Finn? Hearing this voice, Noah stopped, turned his head, and looked behind him. There, Riveria and Leafia walked together in the direction of Noah. The one who called out to Noah was naturally Riveria. As for Leafia, she was holding a few thick books in her hands. She was glaring at Noah with an even more ferocious gaze than the day before, causing Noah to shudder. Undoubtedly, this elven archmage usually lacked confidence and was easily nervous. Once she encountered AIC, she became so terrifying. It was really lamentable. Noah could only touch his nose and avert his gaze. He simply ignored Leafia and greeted Riveria. Good morning. Good morning to you. Riveria didn't bring her magic wand, but she was still wearing a cloak. Looking at Noah, her beautiful face that was more perfect than a goddess was filled with a chuckle. If you are going to look for Finn, then let's go together. Hearing this, Noah met Riveria's gaze and looked into her eyes. After a while, he shrugged. Then let's go together. After saying that, Noah, Riveria, and Leafia walked together in the direction of Finn's office. To be honest, Noah wasn't familiar with Riveria, but she wasn't a stranger either. Compared to Finn, Riveria, and Gareth, the leaders of the clan, Noah had a closer relationship with Ace, Tiona, Tyogni, and even Leafia. Noah didn't even have much of a friendship with Riveria. In the past, he had almost never had the opportunity to walk side by side with Riveria like this. Usually, when they worked together, there would be other members around them. This time, although Leafia was also there, the elven archmage seemed to have noticed something. She remained silent and just followed behind Riveria. Just like that, Noah and Riveria walked side by side. Under the gazes of the surrounding grassroots members, they walked step by step towards Finn's office. It didn't take long for Riveria to speak. "Actually, I want to say thank you." When these words came out, Noah didn't have any reaction. Instead, Leafia was the first to be surprised. On the contrary, Noah seemed to know what Riveria wanted to say to him and said without any surprise. "Because of A's?" Leafia raised her eyebrows. On the other hand, Riveria nodded calmly. Although she didn't look at Noah, her tone became gentler. "Did you know? I've never seen Ace smile like she did yesterday." "I know." Noah couldn't help but smile. "If it wasn't because I've seen it once before, I would have doubted that the girl who lacks the ability to express herself could smile so beautifully." "In other words, AIC laughed like that once before, right?" Riveria sighed. "You easily did something that we couldn't do all these years. You really are an incredible man." "It wasn't easy for me." Noah corrected her. "In order to win the beauty smile, I had to rack my brains a lot. But we've racked our brains for several years and still haven't been able to do the same thing. You did it in a single day yesterday, and you still say it wasn't easy?" Riveria shook her head with a smile, then her expression turned serious. "But I'm really happy to see Ace smile like she did yesterday. That child has too much pressure on her shoulders. If possible, I really hope that she can keep smiling like she did yesterday." "Too much pressure on her shoulders?" Noah muttered to himself for a while before speaking. "Are you referring to A's background?" "Yes." Riveria nodded. When she reacted, she was slightly startled and looked at Noah in surprise. "You know about it?" "Sort of." Noah sighed. "That's why I know that she's had a hard time all these years. I didn't expect A's to tell you her biggest secret." Riveria fixed her gaze on Noah and couldn't help but curl her lips. "It seems that A's trusts you a lot. Doesn't A's trust you a lot too?" Noah spread his hands. "At least you, Finn, and Gareth know about A's background, right?" When they were in the underground city, Finn, Riveria, and Gareth weren't too surprised about A's relationship with the celestial fairies. It was obvious that they already knew about A's background. After all, we are the original members of Loki's clan. When A's joined us, we were the ones in charge of taking care of her. "We are very clear about A's situation," Riveria said and turned to the silent Rafia. "Of course, to A's, her past isn't a pleasant thing to talk about. Moreover, there's a special blood flowing in her body. She doesn't want to tell you the truth not because she doesn't trust you, but because she's afraid that you will hate her and distance yourself from her." "Lady Riveria." Rafia's expression became extremely complicated, but her words were very clear. It's impossible for us to hate Miss A's." "I know." Riveria patted Rafia's head. "So, all you need is time. Please wait patiently for that child to come clean, okay?" "Yes." Rafia glared at Noah unwillingly. Obviously, Leafia was extremely dissatisfied with the fact that Noah knew all of A's secrets while she didn't know anything. Noah could only smile bitterly. Chapter 2075. In any case, apart from Leafia, Riveria's attitude towards Noah had improved a lot. She was no longer as cautious and probing as when they first met. Instead, she began to open her heart to him. From Riveria's attitude, it could be seen that this elven royal really cared about AIC. From the tenderness that Riveria would reveal from time to time when talking about AIC, it could be seen that she had a deep relationship with the golden-haired and golden-eyed girl. Although from the outside, AIC and Riveria seemed to be about the same age, in fact, Riveria gave people the feeling that she was a mother who had always been protecting AIC. Therefore, Noah guided AIC in a good direction, which improved Riveria's impression of Noah a lot. As for Leafia, this elven archmage didn't dislike Noah in the first place. The reason why she was so fierce was because she was jealous of Noah. Thus, the three of them chatted while walking in the direction of Finn's office. They arrived at the door. "Finn, I'm coming in." As usual, Riveria first greeted him, then directly pushed the door open, and led Noah and Leafia into the office. Because of the many things they chatted about on the way, Noah, Leafia, and Riveria actually slowed down a lot. As a result, when they arrived at the office, everyone was already there. As usual, Finn was sitting in front of his desk. Next to him, Gareth leaned against the wall and stayed there. On the chairs around him, Tiona, Thyone, Bert, and the others were sitting one after another. The sofa was occupied by Loki, and he let the goddess lie on it as if he was just there to join in the fun. Of course, AIC was also there. Perhaps because she liked the clothes that Noah gave her yesterday, AIC didn't wear her usual dress, and was still wearing her cute casual clothes. Her seemingly transparent golden eyes turned to Noah and met his gaze. AIC lowered her head shyly with a bashful smile on her face. Of course, this smile wasn't as pure and innocent as yesterday's, which was as beautiful as a flower. Instead, it was the same as AIC's smile in the past, somewhat lacking in expression. However, being able to smile after seeing Noah was already a huge improvement. Therefore, Noah smiled back at her, making her feel even more embarrassed. Humph, a few cold snorts sounded at the same time, interrupting the tacit understanding between Noah and AIC. Even if he used his knees to think, Noah could guess who had snorted just now. At that moment, Noah could only pout helplessly. Tiona couldn't help but snicker. "I feel that ever since little brother joined our clan, life has become so interesting at all times. Tiona, I feel that this spawn tribe is very troublesome to begin with, but it's not bad if you can make AIC like that with your help." Tione, the Amazon sisters did not try to hide their words at all, and everyone heard them clearly. This made AIC blush, and at the same time, it also made Loki, Bert, and Leafia feel even more displeased. "Alright, hurry up and arrange the work." Bert kicked the chair at the side rudely. "I'm not here to listen to your nonsense." "Then hurry up and get started." Finn spread his hands and glanced at Loki. "But, Loki, do you want to help too?" Forget it. I'm not good at this kind of thing. I'm just here to watch the fun." Loki waved his hand and revealed a perverted smile. "Of course, I've thought about it carefully. I must work with AIC today. That way, she can't refuse to go on a date with me." Wahahaha. The willful words of the Overlord made AIC pucker her brows while the others smiled wryly. "Up to you, but don't cause any more trouble," Finn warned. "We've been fined by the guild. If you mess around again this time, the fine will be deducted from your future drinks." "Are you serious?" Rocky was shocked. Finn, however, ignored Loki and turned his gaze to everyone present. "Then, let's start assigning tasks to everyone. Today, everyone will split up to complete their respective tasks. Most of the items to be sold are in Noah's gift card. So, Noah, you'll probably have to run a few more errands. Of course, I'll increase your bonus, so don't complain." Noah nodded indifferently. Finn smiled faintly. Just as Finn was about to assign tasks to everyone, a series of messy footsteps suddenly sounded from outside the door. Not long after, the door to Finn's office was violently opened. A member of the clan tribe rushed in with a panicked expression, causing everyone present to stand up in surprise. But in the next second, the words that came out from the clan tribe member's mouth made everyone's expression freeze. "Lord Loki. Leader. Something bad has happened." When Loki led the higher-ups of the clan tribe out of the mansion and came to the front gate, the scene that appeared in front of everyone made most of them gasp. At this moment, in front of the gate of Loki's clan tribe's headquarters, on the road directly opposite, a group of people gathered together, facing the base of Loki's clan tribe. Looking at the group, Finn narrowed his eyes and licked his thumb. Otto, Alan, Higuni, Cheen, and the Gulliver brothers. Are the left and right arms of the beauty goddess all here? The person Finn mentioned was the group of people in the middle of the group that was facing the Loki clan's base camp. Freya's clan tribe, Dark Elf race, LV, 6 level 1 adventurer, Higuni. Freya's clan tribe, White Elf race, LV, 6 level 1 adventurer, Cheen. Freya's family belonged to the dwarfs, and they were 4 LV, 5 level 1 adventurers. They were also brothers, and if they worked together, they could even surpass a LV, 6 level 1 adventurer. They were known as the 4 Golden Warriors, the Gulliver brothers. Freya's clan tribe, Catman race, LV, 6 level 1 adventurer, title, Goddess, Chariot, Alan from. And Freya's clan tribe, Orc race, LV, 7 level 1 adventurer, title, Valiant, and Eulalie's ultimate weapon, Otto. The strongest combat power of one of the most powerful clans in the city had all appeared here. Moreover, around them, a group of powerful members were all armed to the teeth, holding weapons in their hands, like an army, exuding an austere atmosphere. Each of those members had reached at least LV 3. In other words, all of Freya's clan tribe's combat power had been deployed here. These people were all surrounding a luxurious carriage parked in the middle of the road, standing in front of the gate of Loki's clan tribe's base camp. They were like an army at the gate, and all of Loki's clan tribe members could not help but clench their weapons. Even the level 1 adventurers had a solemn expression on their faces. Freya's clan tribe? Bert's eyes flashed fiercely. How dare they send such a formation to block our gate? It seems that they really want to fight us. TSK, Loki clicked his tongue and stared at the luxurious carriage. Although I knew that it was only a matter of time before that love-struck fool came, I didn't expect them to go this far. Noah, on the other hand, fixed his gaze on Ren, the cat-human youth and the 4 dwarves from Freya's first-year adventurers who were surrounding the luxurious carriage. Freya's clan tribe's LV, 6 Goddess, Chariot and LV, 5 Golden Warriors. As one of the most powerful clans in the city, the level 1 adventurers of Freya's clan tribe were as famous as the level 1 adventurers of Loki's clan tribe. In fact, they were even more famous. Therefore, Noah had naturally heard of the Goddess, Chariot, and the Golden Warriors. However, Noah noticed the Catman youth Alan and the 4 homunculus warriors not because of how famous they were. The corners of Noah's mouth slowly curled up as he recalled the attack he encountered on the first night he came to Eulalia. Chapter 2076. He still remembered that when Noah had just arrived in this world, came to Orly, met Hestia, and joined Hestia's clan, Noah was attacked one night. It was an attack by a group of 5 dressed in black, wearing masks, and completely hiding their true appearance. Of course, even if they hid their true appearance, they could not hide their racial characteristics at all. Therefore, Noah clearly remembered that the ones who attacked him at that time were a catman and 4 homunculi. Moreover, the strength of these 5 people was considered to be very high in this world, definitely at the level of a level 1 adventurer. In addition to some of the information obtained at that time, Noah guessed which clan the people who attacked him were from. There was no doubt that it was the members of Freya's clan. The level 1 adventurers of Freya's clan were the culprits who attacked Noah. Knowing this, and hearing the information of the level 1 adventurers of Freya's clan, how could Noah not guess who attacked him? The Catman at that time was Alan. The 4 homunculi at that time were the Gulliver brothers. Goddess's Chariot. Golden 4 warriors. These 5 level 1 adventurers of Freya's clan were the people who attacked Noah at that time. According to Noah's sense of time, it was already more than a year ago. After more than a year, seeing these level 1 adventurers who were so easily taken away by him again, Noah couldn't help but smile slightly. Finn and the others who didn't know about this just looked at the luxurious carriage surrounded by Freya's clan members. Their eyes were extremely solemn. Only Loki, who pursed his lips and spoke in an extremely displeased tone. Setting up such a formation in front of my house, do you expect me to personally invite you down? As soon as these words came out, the whole place suddenly fell silent. In the next second, in the luxurious carriage surrounded by Freya's clan members, a light laugh sounded. Aren't I waiting for you to come out? The sound was like an intoxicating wine, making many of the people who heard it feel weak in the bones, and couldn't help but lose their composure. Under such circumstances, beside the luxurious carriage, a burly orc who gave off a heavy and majestic feeling like a mountain stepped forward, lifted the curtain in front of the carriage, and extended a hand into the carriage. In the next moment, a slender hand as white as jade stretched out from the carriage and placed it on Otto's hand. Then, the world's purest beauty made her appearance there. The enchanting devilish figure exuded a fatal charm. Her delicate skin that could be broken by a breath was suffused with blood. Her breathtakingly beautiful face with an intoxicating smile. A pair of beautiful eyes as soft as water, one could not help but be infatuated. The goddess of love and beauty came down from the carriage and appeared under the sunlight in front of everyone's eyes. Looking at the embodiment of the purest beauty in the world, the members of Loki's clan, who were holding their weapons tightly with solemn and vigilant faces, were all stunned. They couldn't help but lower their defenses that could be used at any time. Seeing this scene clearly, Finn, Riveria, and Gareth's expressions became even more solemn. If Freya's clan members launched an attack now, with just a smile from Freya, more than 80% of the members here would lose their ability to fight and be captured by the beauty of the goddess of beauty, and easily be conquered by Freya's clan members. In a war between clans, the overgod should be the weakest and most protected existence, and should be the most vulnerable. But this rule did not apply to Freya's clan members at all. Although Freya's divine power was sealed like the other gods, but other than that, Freya had a weapon that the other gods did not have. And that was her charm. With this weapon, the clan members who could not resist the charm of the goddess of beauty were no match for Freya's clan members. The clan members of Loki's clan, known as the Two Kings of Eulalia, and recognized as the strongest clan, were at an unimaginable disadvantage when they met Freya's clan members. Finn, Riveria, and Gareth weren't the only ones who understood this. Aze, Tiona, Tioni, Bert, and the others understood as well. At that moment, Bert sneered. Showing off. As soon as he finished speaking. Whoosh! Accompanied by the sound of something breaking through the air, a figure suddenly burst out from Freya's clan members. Like a bolt of lightning, with an unimaginable speed, it scuttled in front of the level 1 adventurers of Loki's clan members. No. More accurately, it should be said that it scuttled in front of Bert. Wah! Finn and the others who did not expect to be ambushed were shocked. At this time, a spear had already turned into a cold light, as if it had pierced through space. It rubbed against the air, and in the sharp sound of something breaking through the air, it stabbed towards Bert. What? Bert's pupils shrunk, and his body suddenly tensed up. Without the slightest hesitation, Bert raised his feet that were equipped with the steel-like silver boots. Clang! With a crisp sound of collision, the spear that had pierced through space heavily stabbed into the silver boots, causing dazzling sparks. An unimaginable impact suddenly shook the silver boots, causing Bert to groan. His whole body seemed to be bounced off, rubbing against the ground for a distance of dozens of meters. At this time, the owner of the spear that was thrusting towards Bert was slowly put away by its owner. Only then did everyone see the appearance of the attacker clearly. It was a young catman who was not very tall, with black and gray body hair. This is just a small lesson. The catman known as the Goddess Chariot, Alan, looked at Bert who was repelled by his spear, with a cold and disdainful expression on his face. Remember to clean your mouth, Bert Roga. The extremely disdainful words made the bad-tempered Bert's anger explode. You've got guts. Bert grinned, and his eyes burned with ferocious flames. He patted his feet with the silver boots, and his whole body exuded a frightening murderous aura. You're overestimating yourself. Alan's smile was still disdainful, but he lifted the spear in his hand slightly. Just as the first-level adventurer, the werewolf and the catman were about to fight, a terrifying aura rose around them one after another. Alan's heart skipped a beat, and he looked around. He saw that with Finn in the lead, Riveria, Gareth, Tiona, and Tyogni were all staring at Alan, and their eyes became extremely cold. As expected of the goddess chariot, Finn said lightly. To be able to penetrate the defense net set up by so many of us in an instant and repel Bert, your agility is still as high as before. One of the reasons why the Catman youth, Alan, was called the goddess chariot was that he had a frightening pair of hairy legs. Although Bert was only LV5, his agility was the highest level of S stage, and he also had skills to increase his speed. As a result, he almost didn't react in time and was attacked by Alan. Finn, Riveria, and Gareth were all LV6, but because it was too sudden, they almost didn't react in time. It could be seen that the Catman youth's agility was second to none, even in LV6. However, ignoring the group of first-level adventurers of Loki's clan, breaking into the enemy's camp alone, and even repelling one of them arrogantly, all of a sudden, everyone was enraged. As a result, even AIC couldn't help but hold the rapier at her waist, and stared at Alan with all her attention. The members of Loki's clan also all woke up from the beauty of the goddess, and reflexively raised their weapons. Of course, the behavior of Loki's clan also made all of Freya's clan members tense up, and they all held the weapons in their hands. The atmosphere suddenly became tense. As a result, among all the people present, only 2 people seemed to be out of place, and didn't care about the tense atmosphere at all. One was the goddess, Freya. The other was, of course, Noah. Because when Freya alighted from the car, Noah had already felt it. An extremely hot gaze was fixed on him. The owner of the gaze was, of course, Freya. Meeting Freya's gaze, Noah looked at her. Then, the goddess's intoxicating smile from the bottom of her heart was imprinted in Noah's eyes. Chapter 2077. It had to be said that as a goddess of beauty, Freya's every move did indeed affect everyone's heart. The originally tense atmosphere dissipated in an instant under Freya's intoxicating smile. But this time, Freya really did not do it on purpose. She was simply happy to see her sweetheart. Although Noah's appearance had completely changed and there was nothing familiar about him, in the eyes of Freya who could see through the soul, that appearance did not have any effect at all. Others recognized people by their faces. Freya, on the other hand, looked at the soul. Therefore, Freya, who was staring at Noah, opened her red lips and moved them slightly. "I found you, my most beloved man," a sentence that could make any man fall head over heels for her, but it could not shake Noah's heart. Looking at Freya, Noah's expression did not change from beginning to end. That unmoved look did not disappoint Freya, but instead made the smile on her face grow wider. It was also at this moment that Loki spoke. "Aren't you going to hurry up and tell your people to leave?" Loki laughed, but there was no smile in his eyes. "Or do you really want to fight me here?" "I don't mind." From this sentence, it could be heard that Loki was actually a little angry in his heart. However, it would be unwise to start a fight here. It was impossible for Freya's clan's strongest fighting force not to be discovered if they came out in full force. Therefore, the surroundings were already crowded with people, even gods. Even the guild staff began to appear one after another, obviously ready to intervene at any time. Of course, other than the guild staff, the rest were just excited by the situation in front of them. Are Loki's clan and Freya's clan finally going to fight it out? The 2 strongest clans in the Maze City are finally going to decide the winner here. This kind of topic continued to spread among the crowd, making the onlookers excited. Especially those gods who loved entertainment, they could only be described as ecstatic. Loki and Freya are finally going to fight. The most exciting battle between clans has finally begun. I bet my goddess Freya will win. I bet Loki will win. I'll bet 100 panaceas. I'll bet a level 1 equipment. I bet 100 million Varus. Yeah. With such a group of gods stirring up trouble, the surrounding crowd became more and more lively, making all the guild staff nervous. Looking at the situation, Loki and Freya tacitly chose to stop at the same time. "Alan," Freya ordered. "Come back." "Humph," Alan snorted as he lifted the spear in his hand and turned around. He ignored Finn and his companions as he walked towards his own camp. "Want to leave?" Bert's eyes were fierce. He was about to catch up when Loki stopped him. "I know you're upset, and I'm upset too." Loki did not look at Bert, but kept looking at Freya as he spoke in a low voice. "But we'll have to bear with it for now. We're surrounded by guild members. Who knows if that love-struck fool will use this as an excuse to make a fuss. We'll be at a disadvantage then." Hearing this, Bert gritted his teeth and relaxed his body, but his eyes were fixed on Alan like a wolf staring at its prey. The surrounding members of Loki's clan were a little timid. It was only then that Freya waved away the surrounding clan members and walked towards Loki. Behind him, Otto, Alan, Higuni, Hai-Chin, and the Gulliver brothers followed closely behind him, walking over together. In response, Loki put on an unruly smile and walked forward without the slightest fear. Finn, Riveria, Gareth, Tiona, Bert, and even Ace followed. Thus, the two most powerful overgods of the Labyrinth City orally led the first-year adventurers of their respective spawns to face off against each other in front of the main gate of the Loki spawn's main camp. It was as if enemies were destined to meet on a narrow road. The scene made the onlookers even more excited. On the other hand, Loki and Freya, two old friends who had known each other since they were in the heavens, looked at each other in public with a joyful smile on their faces. "I knew you'd come to me sooner or later." Loki was smiling, but his narrowed eyes flashed with displeasure. "I just didn't expect you to put up such a formation and show me who's boss the moment you arrived. That's just a child's ignorance, Loki. Forgive him a little." Freya was also smiling, and her smile made everyone feel infatuated. "However, this way, you can understand that I can do anything now, right?" "Of course." Loki's expression became a little sarcastic. "You bastard, your head isn't very normal to begin with. Please call this love, Loki." Freya said slowly. "I'm the goddess of love. Isn't it natural for me to go crazy for love? But it's a pity that you've gone crazy on my head." Loki put his hands in his pockets and put his face in front of Freya. A pair of narrowed eyes opened slightly, and a vicious aura that only an evil god could have flashed across them. "Do you really think I won't go crazy?" Freya raised an eyebrow, but the smile on her face didn't weaken at all. The surrounding atmosphere suddenly became sinister again. An oppressive aura emanated from Loki and Freya's bodies, causing the noisy onlookers to feel a chill run up their spines. One by one, they shut their mouths. Under such circumstances, the surroundings suddenly became quiet. It was so quiet that even the sound of a needle falling to the ground could be heard clearly. Even Finn and Otto's group were looking at each other, and their gazes were as if sparks could fly. It was extremely dangerous. In the end, it was Noah who started to feel bored. "If you have anything to say, say it after we go in." Noah's seemingly bored voice suddenly resounded throughout the entire space. "I don't want to be treated like a monkey here and be laughed at." With that, Noah turned around and walked into the mansion under the stunned gazes of Loki's people. Originally, because of changing his appearance and suppressing most of the energy in his body, reducing his presence and temperament, Noah was the kind of passerby that no one would notice even if he was thrown into a crowd. So, at this moment, a passerby suddenly made such an arrogant statement in front of the two goddesses and a group of first-level adventurers, which made everyone look at each other. Only Loki and Freya's eyes suddenly softened as they looked at each other, and they smiled bitterly. "That kid." Loki smacked his lips. "He actually didn't give me face, haha." Freya covered her mouth and laughed. "It seems that we can't do anything to that kid, Loki." Loki didn't know whether to agree or not, but he spoke to the members of Loki's clan. "All of you stay here. If this infatuated kid dares to do anything, even if you don't kill him, break one of his legs." "Yes." The members of Loki's clan answered one after another. Freya also gave the same order leisurely. All of you stay here too. Don't do anything excessive, but if anything happens to me, remember to come and save me, okay? Yes, sir. Freya's family members answered in unison. It seemed like a normal sentence, but the hostility hidden in it could be detected by anyone. Just like that, Loki brought Freya and walked into the clan's headquarters together. Of course, the first-level adventurers of the two clans followed. Only the members of the clan were left standing guard outside the door, confronting each other, and the dangerous atmosphere gradually spread. In the end, everyone moved to the chat room of Loki's clan and was divided into two camps. There were two sofas, and Loki and Freya sat facing each other, with the first-level adventurers of each clan standing behind them. As the leaders, Finn and Otto stayed beside Loki and Freya. Noah, on the other hand, seemed like he didn't want to be involved, and stood by the side of the wall. However, Freya's eyes no longer hid anything as she stared at him, her heart surging with passion. Then, Freya said this. Are you still going to face me like this? Hearing this, Noah glanced at Freya, wiped his face with his hand, and instantly returned to his original appearance. Chapter 2078. When Noah revealed his true appearance, his strong presence that was different from anyone else's also swelled up, easily surpassing everyone present, even gods like Loki and Freya. The first-level adventurers of Freya's clan reacted. Otto stared straight at Noah without saying a word, but a slight pressure emanated from his body. Higuni and Hai-Chin had already heard of Noah's existence from Freya, but they did not know what was so special about this man that their respected god was infatuated with. Now, they somewhat understood and looked at each other. As for Alan and the Gulliver brothers, they had already attacked Noah under Freya's orders. Looking at Noah's face that they had only seen once but was extremely familiar with, feeling the strong sense of presence that was swelling from his body, and recalling the scene where they were easily dealt with and played by Noah the last time they went looking for trouble with him, the Gulliver brothers' expressions became extremely ugly. Alan, who had arrogantly attacked Bert, obviously had a stronger self-esteem than anyone else. When he thought of how pathetic he was at that time, not only did his face turn extremely ugly, even his gaze became extremely unfriendly. In contrast to the first-level adventurers of Freya's clan, Freya, as the over-god, looked at Noah's familiar face, and her eyes became a little blurred. Normally, Freya would never behave so unbearably. But whenever she was face to face with Noah, Freya could not help but feel the rising emotions in her heart. It was too difficult for Freya, who was extremely obsessed with soul radiance, to face Noah directly and still have to suppress her feelings. It was because of this that Freya could not help but use her charm ability on Noah in public last time. After all, at that time, Freya could not hold back her feelings at all, and only thought of how to get Noah. Therefore, even if Freya had imagined all kinds of situations before she came, she still could not hold back her feelings when facing Noah. Under such circumstances, Freya almost uncontrollably stood up from her seat and walked lightly to Noah under everyone's gaze. Then, Freya reached out a hand and caressed Noah's cheek as if she was caressing her most precious treasure. Her expression was one of satisfaction that had never been seen before. Do you know how much I wish I could touch your face like this? The love that came from the goddess's mouth made Finn and the others a little dumbfounded. Although they knew that Freya was obsessed with Noah, Finn and the others did not expect that Freya's feelings for Noah were so strong. The words that were full of love and the unprecedented satisfied expression on her face were telling everyone here how much the fickle goddess in front of them was obsessed with Noah. Seeing Freya like a young girl who longed for contact with her lover, stroking Noah's cheek with a face full of happiness, Finn and the others did not know how to react. In Freya's family, except for the taciturn warrior Oda, the rest of them were trembling when they saw this scene. It was because of jealousy. Every member of Freya's family loved the goddess dearly, and longed to be loved by the goddess. Therefore, except for the honest Oda and the prideful Alan, the first-level adventurers of Freya's family felt as if their beloved goddess had been snatched away by Noah, and all of them bit their trembling lips. In addition, there were two people who had obvious reactions to Freya's actions. One was Loki. That love-struck fool. Loki frowned deeply. Although I already knew that she had a special impression of that little fellow, this persistence is perhaps more terrifying than I thought. The other was A's. Seeing Freya affectionately caressing Noah's cheek as if she was facing her most beloved lover, A's gem-like eyes could not help but waver. When the first-level adventurers of Freya's family saw this scene, they felt as if their goddess had been snatched away by another man. When A's saw this scene, she felt as if Noah had been snatched away by another woman. This caused A's emotionless face to show obvious uneasiness. She wanted to step forward a few times, but she was hesitant. Her conflicted look made Leafia, the only one present who was not a first-level adventurer, feel sorry for her. As for the person in question, Noah's gaze was fixed on Freya's body. He looked at her breathtakingly beautiful face and spoke in an indifferent tone that made people feel a little cruel. "If you came here just to touch my face, then you have achieved your goal. Can you leave now?" The rejection in her words couldn't be any more obvious. Freya's hand that was caressing Noah's cheek paused involuntarily. The first-level adventurers of Freya's family were all excited. "You bastard." Alan gripped the silver spear in his hand tightly and glared at Noah. "It is your honor to be loved by the goddess. How dare you boast so shamelessly?" Higuni, Hai-Chin, and the Gulliver brothers all had ferocious looks on their faces, their killing intent rising. Unfortunately, Noah only glanced at them and laughed, not knowing whether it was mockery or disdain. "It is indeed an honor to be loved by the goddess." Noah grabbed Freya's hand in front of everyone and pressed the goddess' hand down. He looked into the goddess' eyes and said this with a chuckle. "Unfortunately, I have already received the favor of the two virgins. The overbearing favor of the goddess should be left to someone else. I admit that I can't bear it." Instantly, the killing intent rising from the first-level adventurers of Freya's family expanded several times. Even Otto was a little angry. He opened his eyes and stared straight at Noah, his expression becoming a little frightening. On the other hand, the rest of the adventurers noticed a detail in Noah's words. "The favor of the two virgins?" Loki stood up in surprise. "The favor of the two virgins?" AIC and the rest were also stunned. "The two virgins?" Freya looked deeply at Noah. She was not hurt by Noah's rejection and smiled meaningfully. "Other than Hestia, is there another virgin goddess in Eulalia who is in contact with you?" Noah did not answer. It should be said that even if he answered, no one would feel relieved. Because the other virgin goddess had already spoken in Noah's heart. "Don't tell me you're referring to me?" Athena's laughter echoed in Noah's heart. "Indeed, this concubine's obsession with you can be considered as a form of favoritism. Otherwise, I wouldn't have become something that only belongs to you." Thinking back, it really makes one sigh. Noah couldn't help but smile at Athena's words. But when he looked at Freya, the smile on his face grew fainter. "Tell me, what are you here for?" "Of course I want to come here to see you," Freya said without hesitation, but then changed the topic. "Other than you, there is another person that I think it is time to meet." As she said this, Freya turned her head and cast her gaze on someone. Being stared at by Freya, AIC was startled. Even Loki was slightly startled. He looked at AIC, then looked at Freya, and asked with uncertainty. "The other person you want to see, don't tell me it's my beautiful AIC?" "That's right." Freya nodded gracefully, then walked around the sofa and came in front of AIC. "I have long wanted to meet the child that Loki is most proud of." Freya reached out her hand and gently stroked AIC's cheek, just like how she did with Noah. However, when she stroked Noah's cheek, Freya's eyes were burning. But when she stroked AIC's cheek, Freya's eyes were piercing. "As expected of Loki's favorite child, you are really cute." Freya's hand gently stroked AIC's cheek, and her words were like a knife, piercing AIC's heart. "But recently, you have been too close to the man I love, so close that I feel a little unhappy. Tell me, what should I do?" Chapter 2079. The goddess of beauty's whispers gave AIC a sense of dread, like the howling of a devil. Instantly, AIC felt her body temperature drop by quite a bit. Not to mention A's, even the rest of the people felt as if their skin was stuck to the ice. The goddess of beauty's jealousy was terrifying. Just like Ista's jealousy towards Freya. At this moment, Freya was expressing her jealousy towards AIC. The fact that the man she loved the most was too close to this golden-haired, golden-eyed girl made the beauty goddess, who appeared elegant on the surface but whose heart was already burning with the flames of jealousy, not hesitating to send all of her clan's fighting forces here. In other words, Freya was not only here for Noah today, but also for AIC. You. Loki stood up from the sofa. You're here for AIC? That's a little too harsh, isn't it? Freya retracted her gaze from AIC and retracted her hand that was caressing AIC's cheek. She turned around and met Loki's gaze. This is just a warning. Loki, you don't want to let other men take advantage of this child, right? Don't confuse me with you. Loki stared at Freya, his gaze becoming somewhat dangerous. I'm only warning you. If you dare touch a single hair on my AIC's head, I'll make you leave the Maze City just like Zeus and Hera. I'm a man of my word. Following Loki's words, Finn, Riveria, Gareth, Tiona, Tioni, Bert, and even Rafia took a step forward. But at the same time, Otto, Alan, Higuni, Haichin, and the Gulliver brothers also stepped forward. As the center of Loki's clan and Freya's clan, the group of adventurers were all confronting each other, the surrounding atmosphere becoming unprecedentedly heavy. This time, neither Loki nor Freya chose to back down. Their eyes met and sparks flew from the friction, causing the heavy atmosphere to be on the verge of erupting again. After all, both goddesses had their reasons for not backing down. Loki was for the child. Freya was for her lover. Under each other's stubbornness, it was inevitable that they would meet on the battlefield. There was only one thing holding Loki and Freya back. That was the guild. If even the guild's punishment couldn't shake these two goddesses, then things would get out of hand. At that time, the two most powerful families in the Maze City would not hesitate to kill each other. If there was anyone who could stop all of this, it was only one person. That's enough. Noah's voice resounded clearly. My patience has been very smoothly worn out by you all. His extremely impatient words blew away the heavy feeling that pervaded the air in an instant. I've known for a long time that you so-called gods have overly strong egos. Even if you have obvious differences in values from the people of the lower realms, it won't change at all. Noah straightened up and looked at Freya. Your so-called love is really not worth mentioning in my opinion. I don't have the time to waste with you anymore. Fortunately, I'll end it today. End? Rocky's heart skipped a beat. You mean, that's right, a war game. Noah's gaze swept across the first-level adventurers of Freya's family, and finally stopped on Freya. He spoke indifferently. But this time, it's not a war game between your kin. It's a war game between me and all of Freya's kin. When he said this, the whole place fell silent. Freya's eyes flashed and closed. Loki's kin looked at each other in silence. Loki opened his mouth as if he wanted to say something, but in the end, he seemed to think that this was not a bad idea, so he closed his mouth. Only the first-level adventurers of Freya's kin, other than Otto who was also silent, were angry. I see. Alan laughed in anger. Do you think we're like those useless Apollo's kin that you can do whatever you want to us? If not, what do you think? Noah looked at Alan and glanced at the Gulliver brothers before he laughed in a mocking manner. The famous goddess Chariot and Golden Four warriors are not convinced, are you? Undoubtedly, the last time you joined hands, you couldn't even touch the corner of my clothes, right? So what if there's one more LV7 and two more LV6s? You. Alan and the Gulliver brothers were instantly enraged. Although Higuni and Haichin were also full of anger, they also knew about this matter and were half angry and half shocked. Even if they were extremely dissatisfied with the fact that Noah was favored by Freya, Noah's actions in the past few months had already spread throughout Eulalia, and no one would think that Noah was boasting. Even if he was boasting, Noah had the right to do so. That was why the first-level adventurers of Freya's kin could not find any words to refute, and could only glare at Noah angrily, itching to charge at him. And now that things had developed to this point, Loki was actually gloating. I'd like to see how far you Freya's kin can go against this little guy who even dares to kill a god. Finn and the others smiled at this and chose to watch from the sidelines. After all, Finn and the others had seen with their own eyes how the immortal of filth, who was stronger than Oda, was defeated by Noah in one move. Therefore, even if the opponent was the full force of one of the most powerful families in the city, Finn and the others believed that Noah would not lose. All of a sudden, the spearhead was pointed at Freya's kin. Everyone's gaze was focused on Freya, who had her eyes closed. No one knew what she was thinking, and they quietly waited for the beautiful goddess' decision. Not long after, Freya opened her eyes and asked without turning her head around. What do you think, Oda? Oda, who had been silent all this time, raised his head. Lady Freya. Otto spoke in an extremely straightforward manner in front of everyone. We have no chance of winning, and we cannot accept this war game. Such straightforward words and attitude surprised Noah and even the people of Loki's clan. The first-level adventurers of Freya's kin glared at Oda. Do you know what you're saying? Alan clenched his fists, his veins bulging. Are you saying that our glorious Freya's kin can't even defeat a human? Yes. Oda didn't hesitate at all. We can't. You know this better than I do, Alan. The young cat man, Alan, breathed heavily. The sound of him gnashing his teeth was so loud that everyone in the room could hear it. Despite his anger, Alan could not refute Oda's words. Just as Oda had said, Alan knew better than him just how terrifying Noah was. The memory of how he had been toyed with by Noah when he had joined hands with the Gulliver brothers surfaced in his mind. Regardless of how furious he was, there was nothing he could do. So, if we accept this war game, Freya's kin will end up like Apollo's kin, doomed eternally. Oda's heavy voice echoed in the room. I am the leader of the kin, and I will not let this happen. This war game is unacceptable. When Oda's words echoed in the room, before anyone could react, Noah's laughter shook the room. I think you've misunderstood. I didn't ask for your consent. Everyone in Freya's family had an ominous premonition when they heard this. When Otto and the rest turned their attention to Noah, a scene that made everyone's head boil was displayed before Freya's family. Ugh! It was Freya's voice. This voice was filled with a discomfort that could be easily detected by others. Noah had appeared in front of Freya and grabbed her by the neck, holding her hostage. Lady Freya. Oda and the others were furious. Noah. Loki and the others cried out in surprise. Like I said, my patience has been worn out by you. Noah curled his lips into a smile. You have no choice but to accept this war game. If you want to save your goddess, then go to the flower field 1 kilometer east of Eulalia. With that, Noah hugged Freya under his arm and jumped down, breaking the glass behind him and jumping down from the mansion. Chapter 2080. Asterisk bang. Asterisk the sound of a window being broken rang out clearly. Shards of glass scattered on the ground, creating a sharp noise. Lady Freya. With Otto in the lead, all of Freya's clan members rushed to the window and looked down. Unfortunately, there was nothing left. Noah and Freya were nowhere to be seen. Only a shard of glass fell to the ground and shattered into pieces. Damn it! Alan slammed the windowsill. How dare you! Higuni, Haichin, and the Gulliver brothers' faces were twisted. Even Otto couldn't help but clench his fists as he stared at the empty mansion below. Only Loki and his men finally recovered from their shock. That kid. Loki laughed bitterly. Once again, he's done something that no one expected, not to mention Loki, Even Freya would not have thought that she would be held hostage with all the clan tribe's combat power gathered here, and with the strongest of the clan tribe protecting her, right? But that love-struck fool only has herself to blame. Loki smirked. If she really thought that everything would go according to her plan, then the lower realm is not worthy of our god Seal's power to enjoy here. Hearing Loki's sarcastic remarks, Alan, Higuni, Hai-Chin, and the Gulliver brothers couldn't help but turn their heads around in anger. However, before Alan and the rest could make a move, Oda spoke up. Now is not the time to do such things. Otto stared intently at the mansion below Loki's clan members. His voice was so heavy that it seemed to be able to overwhelm everyone. Gather all of our forces, including the LV-1 newbies in the base. Call them all here. So saying, Oda turned and gave the order in a voice so calm it was frightening. The gathering point is at the city gate. Once everyone is gathered, we will depart immediately. Our target is the flower field 1 kilometer east of Eulalie. Hearing this, Alan, Higuni, Hai-Chin, and the Gulliver brothers suppressed the rage in their hearts and nodded heavily. Then, the group of people did not even say a word and directly walked out of the door, disappearing from everyone's sight in an instant. Thus, only Loki's clan members were left in the chat room. Loki. AIC finally spoke. Before AIC could finish her sentence, Loki interrupted her without giving her any chance to explain. You're not allowed to go. His unquestionable words made AIC's delicate body tremble uncontrollably. Before AIC could speak again, Tiona spoke first. Why are we not allowed to go? Tiona asked loudly. We want to help. Isn't this a little unreasonable? Tiona spoke. Even if it's only for the time being, you're still a member of our clan tribe. Are we just going to sit here and watch when one of our clan tribe is in trouble? I want to go too. Leafia also spoke with a firm tone, which was rare for her to do. Please let us go. The three girls tried their best to express their opinions, and AIC's expression softened considerably. However, other than the girls, Finn, Riveria, Gareth, and Bert did not express their opinions. Instead, they looked at each other as if they understood something. Be good, all of you, said Riveria. Since Loki told you not to go, then don't go. Riveria? AIC looked at Riveria in disbelief. Don't look at me like that. Riveria's expression turned helpless. AIC, I understand how you feel, but think carefully. Does Noah really need our help? His strength is obvious to all of us, right? Gareth said. I don't think he will lose to Freya's clan members. That brat didn't tell us anything and escaped after capturing the beauties. That means he wants to solve this problem alone, right? Bert snorted coldly. If that's the case, why should we meddle in other people's business? I have the same opinion. Finn licked his thumb and narrowed his eyes thoughtfully. Noah said that he wants to settle things with the beauties. That's why he revealed his true appearance and captured the beauties. If we interfere, not only will we not be able to help, we might even ruin Noah's plans. That's right. Loki snapped his fingers. That's why none of you are allowed to go. Let that brat do as he pleases. Tiona, Tiony, and Rafia were all speechless. Only AIC lowered her head and looked like she was struggling. It was not that AIC did not understand the logic. However, AIC's heart was restless. She knew that Noah was fighting while she could only watch. This fact alone made her feel very uncomfortable. Driven by her feelings, AIC spoke in a low voice. What if something happens to him? This sentence made everyone smile bitterly. How can something happen to that brat so easily? Loki said noncommittally. If something happens to him so easily, then I wouldn't need to spend so much effort to invite him. In the end, I only got him to join us temporarily. That love-struck fool wouldn't be coveting that brat all the time and not dare to act rashly. What if? AIC said stubbornly. What if something happens? Looking at AIC's stubbornness, everyone was speechless and lamented in their hearts. The little princess who was never good at expressing herself had become so stubborn because of a man. It was truly unexpected. This also proved how high Noah's position in AIC's heart. This made Loki, Bert, and Leafia feel a little uncomfortable. Looking at Loki's expression, as if he had eaten a durian, Finn shook his head and said to Loki, "AIC is right. It's better to be safe than sorry. So, just in case, it's better to arrange some spies near the flower field that Noah just mentioned. This way, we can intervene at any time." All right. Loki waved his hand helplessly. "Then arrange a few people to watch over there. That flower field, it's at 1 kilometer to the east of Olali," AIC interrupted Loki. "I know that place." "You know?" Loki looked at AIC strangely. "Could it be, I went there yesterday?" AIC could not care less and admitted directly. "On a date. So it went out of the city?" Loki gritted his teeth. "Can't you find it no matter how hard you look? You guys are really bold." Gareth was speechless. "You actually went out of the city for a date. Fortunately, the guild didn't find out. Otherwise, we'd be in trouble. In other words, little brother is using the place where he and AIC have a date as the venue for a battle with Freya's family?" Tiona was eager to try. "I suddenly feel like going there to take a look." "Oh, you, at least restrain yourself a little," Tiona said with a face full of excitement. "But, I kind of want to go and take a look too." "Yeah." Leafia smiled slightly, but her smile was a little creepy. "It's best that such a place disappear." Everyone shuddered at his words. This elven archmage was really scary when she was being shady. "If that's the case, then Tiona, you two will go there." Finn pondered for a while and made the decision. "If you want to fool the guild and everyone, you won't be able to do it without the strength of a level 1 adventurer, right?" "Us?" Tiona were startled at first, but then they became excited. "Got it. Leader." Seeing this, AIC opened her mouth slightly. Just as she was about to say something, it was as if she was seen through and directly rejected. "AIC, you don't have to go." Riveria shook her head at AIC. "It's not a good thing to have more people. You're much more conspicuous than Tiona, so it's not suitable for a covert operation." AIC immediately became dejected. Looking at AIC like this, Loki sighed and immediately cursed out loud. "Now I finally understand why that love-struck fool didn't hesitate to go all out to provoke me. Jealousy is such a scary thing, even I can't help but want to bite someone." Chapter 2081. The development of the situation was completely out of everyone's expectations. Outside the headquarters of Loki's kin, Freya's kin, who were ready to charge into the enemy's camp at any time under the command of the king of Loki's kin, did not see their king of Loki, but Otto and his men. Knowing that their beloved goddess was being held hostage, all of Freya's kin expressed disbelief and anger at the same time. Without any hesitation, under Otto's command, all of Freya's kin marched towards the city gate. The onlookers who did not know what was going on expressed their confusion. The gods who were only looking for entertainment expressed their dissatisfaction. Ignoring everyone, Freya's kin gathered at the city gate of Eulalie and alerted the guild. If they wanted to enter and leave the maze city, they could not avoid the guild's permission. But in order to save their king of Loki, all of Freya's kin ignored the guild's objections and rushed out of the city, marching towards the flower fields. The unreasonable behavior of Freya's kin naturally angered the guild, and at the same time, threw a huge rock over Eulalie, causing a huge uproar. For a time, all kinds of rumors were spread. Some people thought that Freya's kin was planning to abandon Eulalie and go to another city. Some people thought that Freya's kin was planning to attack a certain clan outside the city. Some people thought that Freya's kin had other plans, and must be hiding some extremely important secret. Some people even thought that Freya's kin had obtained a treasure map and were preparing to set off to the place where the treasure was hidden to unearth a windfall. All kinds of speculations were flying around, and in another sense, the whole of Eulalie became unusually lively, just like yesterday. Under such circumstances, many busybodies began to take action. The so-called action was that some of the king of Loki's kin had sent people to secretly sneak out of the Maze City and follow Freya's kin. Unfortunately, the guild had already anticipated this situation and set up layers of barriers, causing many of the king of Loki's wishful thinking to die in the womb. Only the two Amazon sisters successfully sneaked up the city wall, avoided all the precautions, and left the city. Just as Finn had expected, without the strength of a level 1 adventurer, it was impossible to fool the guild. And so, Tiona and Tiony snuck out of the labyrinth city, Eulalie, and took a shortcut to the flower fields according to A's description. Who? The early morning breeze carried with it the smell of soil as it blew through the field of sunflowers that were as bright as gold. The sunflowers swayed back and forth in a very pleasant manner. The weather today was not bad. The sun shone down from the sky, illuminating the sunflowers. The sunflowers were full of vitality as they faced the sun in the sky. They looked full of vitality, making people feel relaxed and happy. However, the silence of this beautiful field was soon broken. Phew! With a sharp piercing sound, a stream of light shot out from the other side of the sky like a bright meteor, falling in the direction of the flower field. The whistling wind was getting closer and closer, causing the sunflowers in the flower field to sway even more violently, but none of them were broken. They appeared to be very resilient. Immediately, the stream of light landed in the center of the flower field, revealing the situation inside. Noah, who was holding Freya hostage, slowly descended from the air and stepped on the flower field. Immediately, he released Freya. Feeling Noah let go of her, Freya subconsciously took 2 steps back, then opened her eyes that had been closed because of the extreme speed, and met Noah's deep, dark eyes. Looking at Freya, Noah said faintly, "Stay here for a while. Stay here for the time being and behave yourself. Don't force me to tie you up. You're really heartless." Freya was silent for a moment. Then, as if nothing had happened, she flashed a beautiful smile as usual. "I love you so much, but you're still holding me hostage. You're really breaking my heart. I've said it before, I can't accept your domineering love. You should leave it to someone else." Noah glanced at Freya. "Moreover, your twisted love is only because of your hoarding and possessiveness. Whether it counts as love is still up for debate, goddess." "That's love," Freya said firmly. "If I say it's love, then it's love. Only a goddess like Freya could say such domineering and willful words. After all, the goddess of beauty was the goddess of love, and no one knew more about love than the goddess of beauty. But because of this, the goddess of beauty's love was twisted. Because, whether it was doting, spoiling, favoring, crazy love, stubborn love, or sick love, all the love in the world would be reflected in the goddess of beauty. Therefore, Freya could say with certainty that she did love Noah. Even if it was love because of her hoarding and possessiveness, it was still love. But, this kind of cruel love, just like what Noah said, he couldn't bear it at all. "I really hope that after today, you can still be as stubborn as you are now." Noah curled his lips into a smile, and under Freya's gaze, he raised his hand. A dark gold gift card appeared in Noah's hand, causing a dazzling light to bloom. Within the light, petite girls suddenly appeared one by one. "This is..." Freya was stunned. With eyes that could look directly at the souls of individuals, the goddess of beauty Freya easily recognized them. These girls in front of her were not simple at all. The girl with waist-length silver hair had a soul as tough and sharp as a sword. The girl with shoulder-length silver hair had a soul as dark and deep as the moonlight. The remaining pair of girls who looked exactly the same, with waist-length straight black hair, had souls that were like bottomless pits, with no limit at all. The souls of these 4 petite girls were all extremely dazzling, and although they were still not as bright as Noah's, they were still brighter than any existence Freya had seen so far, except for Noah. Including the gods, it was the same. At the same time, with the eyes that could see through souls and the eyesight unique to gods, Freya also recognized the bodies of the 4 girls in front of her. The silver-haired one is a fairy. The black-haired one is a god? That's right. In this world, Aster and Athena were immortals. As for Orpheus and Lilith, who were the dragon gods, they were naturally the true gods. However, it was precisely because of this that Freya was so surprised. Because, if they were gods, Freya would definitely recognize them. But these 2 young goddesses in front of her, Freya had never even heard of them before. What surprised Freya even more was that in Athena's soul, besides seeing the fairy part, Freya also saw a trace of light that only gods could have in the deepest part of her soul. In addition, Aster's soul light was also somewhat abnormal compared to a real fairy. Freya was really surprised. Looking at Freya like this, Athena's snake eyes flashed slightly, and she smiled sweetly. A pair of eyes that can see through souls. It seems that some of this concubine's secrets have been exposed to your eyes as well, stubborn beauty. Freya was shocked. She could not help but be shocked. Under the gaze of Athena's snake-like eyes, Freya actually had the feeling that the depths of her soul were being seen through. That feeling told Freya everything. The girl with shoulder-length silver hair in front of her was indeed not an ordinary fairy. Moreover, beside Athena, Orpheus and Lilith were also looking at Freya. Although their faces were expressionless, Freya had the feeling that she was being stared at by an incredible existence, and she was completely frozen in place. Under such circumstances, Orpheus and Lilith finally spoke up. Goddess of beauty. Orpheus stared straight at Freya as if he was interested in her. A god I've never seen before. A god I've never seen before, a god I've never seen before. Lilith put her nose close to Freya's body and sniffed. She's different from Lilith, and different from the other Lilith. The dragon god's curious words made Freya so scared that she didn't even dare to move. Looking at Freya like this, Noah smiled triumphantly and said to Orpheus and Lilith. Orpheus, Lilith, keep an eye on her. If she doesn't behave, you can do whatever you want with her. Orpheus and Lilith turned their heads, looked at Noah, and nodded without hesitation. Chapter 2082. For Orpheus and Lilith, as long as it was Noah's order, the 2 girls would carry it out literally. This was because Orpheus and Lilith did not know much about the world at all. Their hearts were purer than a 10-year-old child's, so naturally, they would not beat around the bush. Therefore, after Noah told them to keep an eye on her, Orpheus and Lilith directly occupied Freya's left and right sides, staring straight at her without blinking. However, Orpheus and Lilith did not know that their behavior had brought unimaginable pressure to Freya. In the world of Demon High School, Orpheus and Lilith were absolutely at the top even among the gods. Even Shiva, who was known as the god of destruction, could only admit his inferiority when facing Orpheus and Lilith. With half of the power of the infinite dragon god at his peak, Orpheus and Lilith's power was between 3 and 4 digits, which was much, much stronger than the other gods. In this world, the gods had sealed their divine power, but their eyesight was still there. Therefore, Freya was very clear that the 2 seemingly innocent young girls in front of her were probably at a higher level than her in terms of the gods. Freya felt as if she was being stared at by something incredible. Her usual calmness and elegance vanished without a trace. With a strong sense of uneasiness, she froze in place under Orpheus and Lilith's overly direct gazes. In this regard, Noah kindly reminded her. Don't even think about using your charm on Orpheus and Lilith. These 2 children are too pure and can't understand the feeling of being moved by beauty. So, even if you use your charm, it won't work on these 2 children. After saying this, Noah did not look at Freya's reaction and turned to Orpheus and Lilith. Both of you also remember to restrain yourself and don't use your power casually, okay? Both Orpheus and Lilith nodded, but their gazes did not leave Freya. They continued to follow Noah's instructions and watched Freya closely. This made Noah feel more at ease. After all, Orpheus and Lilith were gods. If they used their powers, it was unknown if they would be like the gods of this world, who would be thought to have used divine power and be sent to heaven. Therefore, Noah had never used his divine power in this world before, and had only transformed some divine power in his body. He also did not summon Orpheus and Lilith from the card of gifts to prevent this from happening. Of course, even if Orpheus and Lilith didn't use their powers, as dragons, the physical abilities of the two girls were also quite astonishing. With her charm ineffective and her divine power sealed, it was almost impossible for Freya to escape from Orpheus and Lilith. Thus, Noah turned around and walked past the flower field. He came to the edge of the cliff and looked into the distance. The labyrinth city, Eulalia, was like a city of steel under the sunlight, giving off a heavy feeling. Noah seemed to be able to see the chaos that was going on, and the corners of his mouth lifted slightly. At this time, Aster and Athena also came to Noah's left and right. "Master." Aster raised his head and looked at Noah as he spoke. "What are you planning to do? Can't you tell?" Noah smiled slightly. "I'm planning to play a game with Freya's clan." "There's no need for that, right?" Athena said so. "If you just want to get rid of that paranoid beauty, can't you just send her back to heaven?" "But Freya and Ista are different." Noah shook his head. "Ista's rule of terror among her clan is that of a reign of terror. Those who are obedient are left alone, and those who are disobedient are all captured by charm. No one wants to avenge her at all. Even if they are sent back to heaven, no one in Ista's clan will want to avenge her. But Freya is different." Noah narrowed his eyes. "Among Freya's clan, this beauty has an unusual prestige. All of the clan members respect and love this goddess from the bottom of their hearts. If I send her back to heaven, not only will the situation not improve, but it will also cause Freya's clan members to collectively go berserk. The trouble will not decrease but increase instead. If that's the case, it's better not to do it." "That's true." Athena nodded. "But if you don't send that beauty back to heaven, I don't think she will give up on you so easily." Although Athena had only seen Freya once until today, with her eyesight, how could she not understand how serious Freya's obsession with Noah was? This was a goddess who would go crazy for twisted love. The beauty who only pursued the glory of the soul and did not see anything else in her eyes was willing to go against the guild for Noah's dazzling soul. Naturally, she would not give up on Noah just because of a little setback. Therefore, even if Noah killed all of Freya's clan members here, this goddess would still not give up. Of course, Freya would not pester Noah relentlessly. Pestering was a method that belonged to the lowest of the low. This beauty goddess would never do such a thing. However, this beauty would hide, secretly develop her forces, and look for an opportunity to pursue Noah. After all, as an immortal god, Freya lacked nothing but time. Since that was the case, waiting for this beauty was also a kind of enjoyment, right? It was impossible that Noah did not understand this. But it was also because of this that Noah smiled. That's right, for a goddess, the one thing she does not lack the most is time. That love-struck fool did not make a move on me previously because she was not in a hurry. It was only when the distance between me and AIC became a little closer that she came to provoke me out of jealousy. I wanted to take advantage of this to set a trap." "A trap?" Athena was suddenly curious. "What kind of trap?" "The most difficult thing in the world to obtain is not the thing that is the furthest away from you, but the thing that is undoubtedly right in front of you, but you can't touch it no matter what." Noah suddenly smiled. "Since that beauty wants me so much, I might as well give her a chance to have me, but she will never be able to realize it." "A chance to have you, but she will never be able to realize it?" Athena raised her eyebrows, as if she suddenly thought of something, and laughed. "So that's how it is. You're not targeting the beauty goddess Freya, but the beauty goddess Kin?" "That's it." Noah shrugged and patted Aster's head, who was quietly listening to him. "In order to achieve my goal, I might have to be a little more serious today. When the time comes, I'll have to ask you to make an appearance, okay?" "Yes." Aster answered without hesitation. I am Master's sword, everything will be as Master wishes. Then let me enjoy a little. Athena, on the other hand, revealed a cheerful smile. It was a smile that only the goddess of war would have. After all, this is a rare opportunity. Noah smiled and nodded. He raised his eyes and continued to look in the direction of Eulalie. The preparations for a good show are ready, only the important actors are left. The curtain of night slowly began to descend. Tonight, there were no stars in the sky, only a crescent moon that sat in the center, emitting a gentle moonlight. Under the illumination of the moonlight, the magic stone lamps in the labyrinth city of Eulalie were like stars, embellishing the land of the city and brightening Eulalie. The lights from the city and the moonlight in the sky merged together, making this place not lack of light. And at the end of the moonlight and the lights, an army was marching towards the east of the city. The army called the clan members were fully armed, and each of them held a weapon in their hands. They had a terrifying expression that could scare away ghosts as they marched towards their destination. In this army, there were humans, dwarves, elves, orcs, and of course, there were also Amazons and dwarves. The army of various races from the lower realm exuded a terrifying aura. Under the lead of the leader, they came to the bottom of a steep hill. The young catman, Alan, twitched the tip of his nose and said coldly, I can smell the fragrance of flowers. The flower field should be in front of this steep hill. Hearing this, everyone began to show a murderous aura. Because the culprit who dared to kidnap the goddess worshipped by Freya's clan was also in front of this steep hill. Otto carried a large sword on his back and looked at the steep hill with the crescent moon as the background. His eyes were resolute and cold. Chapter 2083. As the only LV-7 adventurer in Eulalia, Otto was known as the ultimate weapon. To put it bluntly, Otto was considered to be invincible in everyone's eyes. Loki's clan expedition to the dungeon, reaching the unreached area, and breaking the floor record. Wasn't that impressive? However, the things that Otto had done in the past were far beyond that. Almost all of the adventurers in Eulalia knew that Otto had once ventured deep into the dungeons alone to improve himself, going on an expedition to an unexplored area. Yes. One person. Loki's clan needed to send out all their elites to reach the unreached area and break the floor record. Otto had once done it alone. And after that expedition, Otto had leveled up to LV-7 after returning from the dungeon, and became Eulalia's ultimate weapon. One could only imagine what kind of great achievements Otto had made in the dungeon to level up successfully. What kind of danger had Otto not encountered? Not to mention a mere steep slope, Otto had even successfully overcome the Shuras in the deeper regions of the dungeon. However, at this moment, in Otto's eyes, this seemingly ordinary slope, which did not even have a single monster of the lowest level, was more frightening than any of the dangers he had experienced in the past. On the steep slope, there were no rare monsters in the dungeon, no enhanced type monsters, and no terrifying floor masters. There was only a single human. But it was because of that human's existence that in Otto's eyes, this seemingly ordinary steep slope became scarier than any danger. Otto, who had once ventured into the dungeon alone, now had the full force of one of Eulalia's most powerful clans, Freya's clan, by his side and behind him. Not only the level 1 adventurers of LV-5 and LV-6, but also the level 2 adventurers of LV-3 and LV-4, even the level 1 and LV-2 newbie adventurers and Freya's family were all gathered here. Therefore, in Eulalia's eyes, Freya's clan's main camp was completely empty. Any weak clan had the ability to break in and take away the large amount of wealth accumulated inside. But none of that mattered. As long as they could save their most beloved goddess, not to mention the wealth accumulated in the base, even if they had to give up their lives, no one would care. Of course, as long as we can save our noble goddess, even if it's our dignity and glory, we are willing to give it up. Otto's voice seemed to be able to shatter everyone's confusion as he ordered resolutely. So remember, our goal is to save Lady Freya, not to tangle with the tyrant. Once we meet the tyrant, no matter what, we have to keep him occupied. Then, a few of us will go and save Lady Freya. Hearing this, everyone nodded without any objection. Even Alan's eyes were filled with unhappiness, but he nodded. The young cat-human's pride was higher than anyone else here. Asking the young wercat to harass an opponent that he couldn't defeat was even worse than asking him to die. However, compared to these, Alan could not forgive himself for not being able to rescue his beloved goddess. Compared to the safety of his beloved Lady Freya, whether it was his pride or his own life, Alan could give it all up. But that did not mean that Alan was willing to admit that he was not as good as Noah. Let me make myself clear, Otto. Alan gripped the silver spear in his hand, his voice as cold as ice. If we meet the tyrant, no matter what, I will go. Leave the mission of saving the goddess to the others. Alan, who prided himself on his amazing speed, was undoubtedly the best candidate to save Freya. Ren must have thought that if Otto wanted to pick a team to rescue Freya, Otto would definitely include him in the team. Unfortunately, this time, Alan guessed wrong. I will leave the mission of saving Lady Freya to a 3-man team of LV1, Otto said. The rest of our forces must be invested in the battle against Noah Dole, or else we have no chance of winning. In other words, if Alan, who was LV6, was included in the rescue team, it would lower their chances of winning even more. They had to put in the strongest combat power. Otherwise, they would not be able to achieve their goal. This was what Otto wanted to say. Higuni and Hai Chin could not help but speak up. Otto, aren't you thinking too highly of the tyrant? Higuni said flatly. I admit that the man is very strong, but he is only one person, right? Yes. Hai Chin nodded in agreement. No matter how strong he is only one person. Do you think that we can't defeat him even if we put in all of our forces? Hai Chin's words immediately attracted the agreement of the fully armed Gulliver brothers. That man defeated the 4 of us easily. Even Alan lost to him when he was with us. But this time, all of Freya's forces are here, we can't lose to one person. Besides, Otto, don't we still have you? The 4 humanoid warriors all expressed their thoughts, which immediately attracted everyone's approval. 1 LV, 7. 3 LV, 6. 4 LV, 5. With a large number of LV, 1 to LV, 4 adventurers, this level of force was more than enough to conquer a kingdom. Even if they were to conquer the entire continent, they would be invincible. If that was the case, who would believe that a mere human would be able to contend against such a force? That's just a person after all, not an omnipotent god. Alan concluded with such a disdainful remark. Are you scared out of your wits? Otto? Alan's disdainful words were met with Otto's silence. At this time, Otto's mind was filled with the terrifying magic that Noah used to destroy an entire city during the war game. Otto only had one thought. Would Freya's family be able to block that spell? If he couldn't, then how could he win? Of course, Otto did not say this out loud. Even though he considered himself as a warrior, Otto was still the leader of a clan. How could he do something that would boost the morale of others and diminish his own? It would definitely affect morale. That was why Otto did not say anything and directly gave the order. The 3 people I named, sneak up from the other side of the steep slope and find a chance to save Lady Freya. Hearing Otto's order, the crowd was slightly dissatisfied, but they did not say anything else. Unfortunately, it was a little too late to sneak in from the back. There's no need to go through so much trouble. When such a voice reverberated through the world like a sound wave, the atmosphere in the entire space instantly froze. With Otto as the leader, all the adventurers of Freya's clan were shocked. They raised their heads and looked up the steep slope. In the next second, everyone saw it. A figure, with his back to the crescent moon in the sky, walked down the steep slope step by step. Yo! The youth appeared like he was riding on the moonlight, and suddenly smiled at Freya's clan members. I've been waiting for you for a long time. Looking at the youth standing on the steep slope with his back to the crescent moon, every Freya's clan member's expression changed. Even Otto stared closely at Noah, and as if squeezing out a voice from his throat, he called out the newcomer's name word by word. Noah Doria, the voice dissipated in the wind after a while. However, the atmosphere was as cold as ice, and everyone gripped their weapons tightly, pointing them at Noah in unison. Looking at this scene, Noah did not seem to care at all. His gaze swept across every member of Freya's clan. Is this the full strength of Freya's clan, one of Eulalia's strongest clans? Noah's gaze swept across everyone, and finally stopped on Otto and smiled. Looks like we're going to have fun today. This one sentence stunned all the members of Freya's clan who were intimidated by Noah's sudden appearance, and then they all became angry. Fun? In other words, the full strength of Freya's clan members was just a game to Noah? Unforgivable. Chapter 2084. As if they had been provoked, Freya's clan members were all enraged at this moment. Noah Dole. Alan raised the silver spear in his hand and pointed it at Noah, who was standing on top of the slope, as he questioned loudly. Where did you take Lady Freya? I didn't take her anywhere. It's at the end of this steep slope. There's a field full of sunflowers. The environment is not bad. Yesterday, I had an appointment with a little princess there. I even asked the 2 children who have formed a contract with me to take care of her. I won't neglect her. Noah's tone was relaxed. All you have to do is follow this path and you'll see your beloved goddess. What do you think? Simple, isn't it? Yes, it is. Higuni laughed coldly. But will you obediently make way for us? Who knows? Noah said with a half-smile. I'm not asking you to defeat me. As long as you can pass through here, I won't chase after you. Can I take it that way? Hai Chin looked straight at Noah. In your opinion, there are so many of us here, but none of us can pass through. Are you trying to hint at us like that? Do you think I'm looking down on you? Noah's lips curled up. Then why don't you come and prove it? Noah's insufferably arrogant words and attitude infuriated Freya's clan members one after another. As one of the 2 strongest clans in Eurali's clan, they had never been looked down upon like this before. Did this man really think he could defeat all of Freya's clan by himself? Alan was so irritated that even his hair stood on end, and his voice was full of anger. Do you think we're as useless as Apollo's clan? Didn't I tell you? Noah shook his head with a smile. He raised his hand and made a provocative gesture. Why don't you come and prove it? In an instant, the fuse in the hearts of Freya's clan members was ignited. How arrogant. Do you really think you have nothing to fear in this world after committing the taboo of killing a god? You'll pay the price. Let's see how long you can keep your mouth shut. The Gulliver brothers shouted one by one. Everyone was provoked to the point where they almost lost their minds. Only Otto was able to maintain his composure. Looking at Noah, who had a half-smile on his face, Oda raised his hand. Following Oda's action, all of Freya's family members shut their mouths and stopped talking. They glared at Noah with eyes burning with rage. Under such circumstances, Oda spoke in a deep voice. Noah Dole, return our noble goddess to us. The entire place fell silent. The relaxed smile on Noah's face faded bit by bit, replaced by an extremely calm expression. However, in the next moment, Noah's words were like a bomb thrown into the calm space, exploding a taut string. Do you think I want to keep that idiot? Are you the only ones who would treat a goddess who only has a superficial appearance as a treasure? Idiot. As soon as he finished speaking, Otto's calm expression twisted. Oh. A thunderous roar suddenly rang out. A terrifying killing intent surged from Otto's body. Just like the calm before the storm, all of Otto's previous calmness was annihilated. All that was left was the impact of emotions, and his heart was in a frenzy. Otto could tolerate anything, but there was one thing he could not tolerate. That was an insult to the goddess of beauty. Once upon a time, when he first met Freya, Otto had attacked Noah because of his disrespect to the beauty. Now, Otto had once again abandoned his rationality. Bang! In the midst of an explosive sound, the adventurer who had been given the title of Fierce One, crushed the ground under his feet, creating a shockwave. Under the vibration of the strong wind, he fiercely rushed in the direction of Noah. Clang! Otto pulled out a large and sharp blade from his back and gripped it tightly in his hand. Whoosh! A sharp sound pierced through the air, causing his towering body to shoot out like a cannonball. In the next instant, Otto had rushed in front of Noah. His eyes were crimson red, and his right hand was raised high. His muscles bulged to the point that even his veins were bulging. He aimed his weapon at the human youth in front of him without hesitation. In an instant, a cold arc of light and a sharp sword aura scraped against Noah's face, illuminating his deep, pitch-black eyes. Noah's expression didn't change as he stared at the furious Otto swinging his blade at him. Instead, his voice rang out clearly. "That's why I said you're an idiot." A phosphorescent energy suddenly surged from Noah's body. Cold Queen of Steel, the holy sword that slays demons and demons, become a sword of steel, and bestow upon me divine power. A mysterious and unfamiliar elven incantation spilled out from Noah's mouth, causing the elven mark on the back of Noah's hand to emit a dazzling light. In response to the call of the contract, a young elven girl with waist-length straight silver hair appeared out of thin air. She raised a pair of purplish eyes, and raised a small hand towards the large blade that was swinging down. Then, something unbelievable happened. Clang! Amidst the sound of steel being ravaged by force, the razor-sharp broadsword in Otter's hand suddenly twisted without any apparent reason. It was as though an invisible hand had forcefully crushed it into a ball, turning the blade into an unbearable sight. Otto's expression abruptly changed. At this time, Noah was still chanting the incantation. Divine starlight, lightning of salvation, wisdom of the goddess, indestructible steel, sword, appear in my hand. The elven mark on the back of Noah's hand shone brightly. Thus, the young girl with shoulder-length silver hair similarly burst forth from within the radiance. Her bewitching snake-like eyes immediately focused on Otto's body. Just like the former, she raised a hand, but this time, it was aimed towards Otto's chest. Beep, 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 a streak of lightning flashed. Not even giving Oda a chance to react, a bolt of lightning of salvation erupted and exploded on Oda's chest. Bang! Amidst the explosion, resplendent lightning flashed in all directions, causing Otto to groan as if he was struck by lightning and was sent flying. Otto! The level 1 adventurers of Freya's family all stood up in shock. A few of them quickly rushed forward and caught Otto, who was sent flying backwards, preventing him from ending up like a rolling gourd. However, when everyone saw the scene on Oda's chest, everyone's pupils shrank. The armor on Otto's chest had long been shattered, and even the clothes in front of his body had been blasted apart, revealing his burly physique. However, Otto's chest, which was as hard as a rock, was now festering as if the skin on it had been burnt away. Cough, cough. Otto could not help but cough a few times, blood dripping from the corner of his mouth. Seeing this scene, everyone's heart trembled. On the other hand, Noah's side raised their eyebrows and began a discussion. Only this degree of injury? Alice questioned her companion with an expressionless face. You have been too merciful, divine sword elf. I have indeed been merciful. The power of the lightning of salvation had been suppressed to its limit. Athena replied calmly. But even if the power was adjusted, the lightning of salvation would still be enough to cause any human in this world to faint. I did not expect it to only cause such a degree of injury. It's not your fault. It should be related to Otto's own ability. Noah shook his head. Every person who receives a favor has a basic ability that they specialize in. Judging from Otto's appearance, this ultimate weapon of Eulalia's should be either strength or durability, right? This orc's durability attribute isn't low, huh? Seeing Noah making sarcastic remarks, Alan and the others felt their blood rush to their heads. Didn't you say you were alone? Alan roared angrily. Admit it if you hid reinforcements. Despicable scum. Despicable scum? Noah mocked. You can't win, so you're using this as an excuse? Where are you from? You. Alan's face was ferocious. Noah acted as if he did not see it and spoke indifferently. Also, Aster and Athena are not reinforcements. They are my swords. Chapter 2085. Sword. The members of Freya's clan were all stunned. Only Otto pushed away the members who were supporting him and clutched his chest. There was blood at the corner of his mouth, but his gaze was as sharp as a knife, piercing Aster and Athena. Soon after, Otto said something that shocked everyone. "Those two girls are fairies, right?" Fairies? The members of Freya's clan were all shocked. Noah nodded calmly as the members of Freya's clan stared at him in disbelief. "Correct. Aster and Athena are fairies who will assist me." Noah extended his hand to Aster and Athena. Aster and Athena naturally extended their hands and shook Noah's hand. Divine power surged from the three of them at the same time. Asterisk clang. Asterisk dazzling light bloomed from Aster and Athena's body at the same time. In the light, the two elven girls' bodies gradually disintegrated into light particles and gathered in Noah's hand. In the next moment, a shining silver steel sword and a white divine sword appeared in Noah's hands at the same time. Demon Slayer. Heavenly Sword of Salvation. The elven device, which was the highest level even in the world of the elemental elves and was not below the gods or the elven king, appeared in Noah's hand. Dazzling silver light flashed on the sword that killed the demon king. Dazzling light burst out from the divine sword that cut through the stars. The silver light and platinum light turned into the two most dazzling colors in the world, dispelling the surrounding darkness and illuminating the entire world. The members of Freya's clan were all stunned. Higuni and Hai Chin's faces were stiff. The Gulliver brothers' eyes were filled with shock. Alan's grip on his weapon tightened bit by bit. Otto stared at the sword and divine sword in Noah's hands, as if he was paying respect to the pair of swords, and spoke with a trembling voice. "I see. Are you the hero of this era?" Fairy spirits were synonymous with miracles. Everyone knew that fairy spirits were existences that assisted the heroes, and they were favored by the gods. Only the heroes and the brave could receive the help of the immortal spirits and obtain the power of miracles. And Noah had two such miraculous agents by his side. Two immortal spirits had become existences to assist Noah, and had even transformed into Noah's weapons. What did that prove? It proved that Noah was a hero that even the immortals had to acknowledge. A strength that doesn't match your level. Is it because you obtained the recognition of two immortal fairies? Otto ignored his own injuries and stepped forward. Is that why you're so powerful? Since ancient times, heroes and warriors who could gain the favor of two immortal spirits were as rare as phoenix feathers and unicorn horns, let alone someone who could gain the recognition of two immortal spirits at the same time. A hero who could gain the recognition of two immortal spirits at the same time had yet to appear. However, Noah did it. In this era where the gods had descended and the heroes had all passed away, Noah had achieved a feat that no one had ever done before. If this was the reason why Noah was so powerful, then everything could be explained. In ancient times, with the help of a fairy, the people of the lower realm could obtain great power and become heroes. Now that Noah had the support of two immortal spirits, he was naturally stronger than the heroes of the past. Under such circumstances, if he were to add on the grace bestowed by the gods, how powerful would he become? Freya's family members shuddered at the thought of it. Noah couldn't be bothered to explain further. He smirked as he sensed the divine might coming from the silver holy sword and platinum divine saber. All right, stop wasting time. Hurry up and attack. Your noble goddess is waiting for you to save her. It was the same casual and arrogant speech as before, but it made Freya's family members unable to be angry. Seeing Noah wielding two swords made of immortal spirits, everyone here understood that this person was not arrogant, but had the power to look down on everyone here. To fight against a hero who surpassed their predecessors. This fact made the hearts of Freya's family members turn heavy. However, no one gave up. Especially the first-level adventurers led by Otto. Not only were they not discouraged, but their fighting spirit was ignited. Otto quietly took out a bottle of elixir from his leg pouch, opened the cork, and poured it down his throat. A phosphorescent light flickered on Otto's chest. Under the illumination of the phosphorescent light, the wound on Otto's chest healed at a speed visible to the naked eye. His festering skin also gradually returned to its original state until it was completely unscathed. In this world, among the items that no one knew of, only the elixir of all elixir could achieve this amazing recovery effect. It was the highest grade of elixir of all elixirs that could heal as long as one was not dead. Of course, even if it was the elixir of all elixir, it would not be able to heal a severed limb. However, Athena deliberately suppressed the power of the lightning of salvation and only heavily injured Otto. This level of injury could be easily healed with the elixir of all elixir. After healing his wounds, Otto did not hesitate and immediately gave the order to everyone. Kill them. It was a simple sentence, but it made the eyes of Freya's family members shine with hostility. In the next moment, all of Freya's family members raised the weapons in their hands and charged up the steep slope that extended towards the crescent moon in the night sky like soldiers preparing to charge and break through enemy lines. Eulalie was the most powerful adventurer in the family, and to be chosen by Freya, her soul radiance was much stronger than the average person's. Therefore, even if the adventurers in Freya's family were of a lower level, they were still the strongest among their peers and had a powerful aura. However, to Noah, who had once faced millions of gods and primordial dragons head-on, it was really not enough. So, the small fries will leave here for now. With that, Noah suddenly raised the heavenly sword of salvation. O lightning of salvation, bloom here. The platinum divine saber, which was shining brightly, immediately stirred up strong lightning. The lightning was like an explosion. It turned into bolts of lightning that fell toward the bottom of the steep slope. They were like meteors falling from the sky, falling like raindrops. Boom, 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 boom. A series of explosions rang out in the air. Ah! Screams and sorrowful cries followed. Bolts of lightning fell from the sky and landed on the steep slope one after another, exploding the ground and setting off a shockwave. Freya's family adventurers who were charging forward were blown away like large pieces of trash. Suddenly, Freya's family adventurers screamed in sorrowful cries one after another as they were blown away by the terrifying lightning. The scene was like an army that had stepped on a landmine, and it became chaotic all of a sudden. The low-level adventurers who had only reached LV-1 and LV-2 were almost all defeated by the lightning. They either fell to the ground or hit the rocks, groaning in pain. Only the high-level adventurers who were LV-3 and LV-4 rushed through the lightning attack and continued to charge forward without fear of death. Unfortunately, these adventurers did not know that if Noah really wanted to, not to mention the continuous lightning attack, all it would take was a full-powered lightning of salvation and this mountain would completely disappear from the map. What was even more unfortunate was that these adventurers did not know that even if they survived the lightning, what awaited them was only an even more terrifying attack. O light of salvation, shine here. After a very short chant, the heavenly sword that was raised high by Noah no longer released lightning. Instead, it suddenly lit up. Immediately, a flash of light appeared from the platinum heavenly sword and turned into a beam of light that suddenly shot out. The beam of light seemed to intend to raise the slope to the ground. It rubbed against the ground, kept level with the slope, and swept down as far as it could. Seeing this scene, Freya's family members' faces changed drastically. You're tuning into the Dreamy Love Stories YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.